Hey everybody, you're here. You're listening to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. I am just about to send out the text message. So brace yourselves, people around the world, to receive Canary Cry text message alert. We are going live. We're back. It's Monday. Who do we got in the chat? Anybody here? I don't see anybody here. Sometimes my chat doesn't load the first time. Let me try it again. But a lot of stuff happening over the weekend. We would love to cover it all, and we're going to try our best. But just know that there is more to come. More to come this week. But we're excited to get going. You know, it's nice to have found something that we actually enjoy doing and that other people enjoy us doing. That's the hard part in life. We can always find stuff that we like doing, but something that other people like us doing, that's the tough part, man. Anywho, what was I going to say? Just a reminder, join our newsletter. You should do that because you get all of our links, all of our sources into your mailbox there. 3 times a week for every show. You get the art, you get a note from me, you get all sorts of good stuff in there. And while you're at it, the service that we use for email, just know that Google is literally, these are exact numbers, Google is only delivering 20% of our emails into inboxes. I don't know how the system works. I don't know who's actually receiving it, but exactly 20% of people who sign up for the newsletter will get it into their inbox every, email that we send. I think maybe it rotates through people or something. So if you join the newsletter, make sure to either star our message when it comes in, or like it, or whitelist our email, something like that, just to make sure that you receive the emails that you crave. All right, folks, remember you can always leave us a voicemail or a pre-show prayer or a question or something over at canarycrynewstalk.com. Look for the green tab on the bottom or the right-hand side. Click on that. You can record a voicemail. It's very cool. We're living in the future. Gonz told me somebody is in the chat, but my chat is not popping up, Gonzo. Are people chatting? Okay. All right. I hear people are chatting. I'm just not able to see it. Let me see if I can fix this. But while I do that, we are going to start the show. Gonz, just a real quick check-in. It looks to me like Rumble is not live. It is on the offline screen. There are 8 people here. And let's see. Maybe we've got we're losing viewers. We're losing viewers. Oh, no. We're sorry. There we go. Chat's working now. Lamb's Grace. Cody. What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. Sorry. Just a quick technical adjustment while a child screams in the background. The child really wants some ice cream. That's the thing today. The child wants ice cream, not because he's hungry, but because he watched a video where somebody else was eating ice cream. And if there's anything that can pass for effective marketing, it is the fact that watching someone else eat ice cream makes you want to eat ice cream, kid. I totally understand. Someday when he is grown and fighting in the robot wars, you will be able to make the decisions that would lead an adult to eating ice cream every meal as often as he wants. Who knows? Maybe when the robot apocalypse hits, ice cream, like in that I think the Woody Allen movie where he goes to the future and the future scientists discover that broccoli and carrots and vegetables are really bad for you, and really it's pizza and ice cream that have been giving us health. If that's not predictive programming for what the mechanism wants us to think nowadays, I do not know what is. Well, now that I think about it, a lot of things about old Woody there were a bit of predictive programming, even down to his questionable extracurricular activities with younger people. Yes, we've seen that. Okay, I'm just going to do a reload. I'm being told the Rumble is working. The Rumble is working. Okay, there we go. We are ready to go, folks. Buckle in. We'll see you on the other side.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is October 2nd, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 672, and today, unidentified fallen oracles. And signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events and today's emergent phenomena. WWNAFAB. WWNAFAB. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, Basil.
Oh, I like that. It's
make that trend. Hashtag WWNAFAB or NAFAB, something like that.
Yeah, that'll catch on. That'll be good. Kind of like instead of emergent phenomenon, it's a emergent acronym.
Hashtag.
Emergent hashtag. Emergent hashtag is a really good. If we were going to try to spice up the show, make it a little younger, try to make it a little bit more digital savvy, we would call the emergent phenomenon the emergent hashtag.
Done.
Because they have a lot in common.
Yeah.
We'll try it out.
We'll try it.
We'll do some A/B testing. We'll hit we'll hire a company, do some
What's up, buddy? We have
groups.
Meltdown already.
Our first focus group is not into it. Although that first focus group, Gonz's tiny child, has been wanting ice cream all day. And if you're in the pre-show, you heard, not because he's hungry, just because he saw a video, somebody else eating ice cream.
Yeah.
I get it, kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get this ball rolling with a disclaimer.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. That's right. And let me give you a rundown, guys.
Oops. Sorry. Here we go.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
That's right. We're starting out. It's going to be biblical. Some interesting revelations coming out recently regarding what has been one of the holdups in investigating UFOs from the Pentagon. Turns out it's Christians. That's right. Maybe they listen to the show. Who knows? Let's see if we can get them on the line. Then we'll be tying that in with some Pope news for a broader perspective on the UFO / religion dance that continues as we move into the future. Then we'll be checking in with a Flippy. It's Flippy adjacent, but it's some big news, especially for old school Canary Cry listeners. We will be checking in on an investigation, an inside look at a satanic neo-Nazi pedophile cult that was discovered recently. And then, hey, even the UK outlets, they are catching on to the 5th generation warfare. That's right. The mainstream media has begun to explicitly call out that we are currently, actively, right now, in a 5th generation war, and it helps explain a lot of things. Then at the end of the show, checking in with good old Antarctica. Once again, sort of confirming many of our previous theories. But first, Gons, our lead stories.
It's quite the day. The baby is not cooperating today, so it might be a rough one.
It's gotta be biblical. You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified. Aliens. Who were made by the aliens.
Demonic power!
Yeah, so we got this article here from DailyStar.co.uk. I know, excellent source. And the headline here, Bible-reading Pentagon commanders halted UFO research over fears aliens were demons. I mean, wow, okay.
Wow, sounds like we got some actual brains in the Pentagon, contrary to evidence so far.
Yeah, okay. It says here, Pentagon commanders have clamped down on research into extraterrestrials because of their religious beliefs, it's claimed. Leading UFO researcher Ron James said senior figures in the U.S. government fear aliens are in fact demons. Yep, drawing fire truck. Ron, who is director of media relations for UFO research group MUFON, claims there is, quote, a very large contingent of people, end quote, within the Pentagon who opposed the work of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AA tip. Because they think, oh my gosh, because they think the UAPs.
Let me grab it. Right. You take care of the baby. MUFON claims there is a very large contingent of people. I think that's an interesting detail. Very large contingent of people within the Pentagon who oppose the work of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, because they think the UAPs regularly reported by the U.S. military sources are piloted by creatures from hell. He says he was told by Luis Elizondo, who has gone on record as being the boss of ATIP, what it, quote, was not just a little voice in the Pentagon, but a huge group of people thought the phenomenon was being witnessed was demons. Not sure about the grammar on that, but you get the point. This fundamentalist Christian lobby within the U.S. defense establishment, quote, actually affected Elizondo's ability to get funding, Ron says. Belief in both UFOs and the literal truth of the Bible is not entirely incompatible, he adds. For example, Ron spoke to staunchly Christian U.S. Congressman Tim Burchett, quote, I sat down and interviewed him. His feeling was that if you look in the Bible and that you look at Ezekiel building the wheel, there's a lot of people that think that that was a spaceship. He adds that His Holiness the Pope has officially acknowledged that there is life on other planets, but the strong arm of religious fundamentalism within U.S. political circles has actively hindered research into UFOs and science generally, Ron says. Quote, I talked to John Brundenberg, a researcher who's done a lot of work about Mars. Work about Mars. Does that mean he's up on Mars, just working about? Ron told podcaster Julian Dory. Interesting that all the sources here are podcasts. He told me that he was working under classification as a physicist for a long time, and he said there's a big contingent that extreme fundamental religion is governing what we are investing our energy and our time. But while some authorities maintain that UFOs can't be from another planet, Ron thinks they could be from another universe altogether. Quote, this guy came up with this thing called quantum jumping. His name was Burt Goldman. We've talked about Burt Goldman. Quote, his theory is that there is another version of you existing in multiple realities, but these realities all exist. Quote, Burt Goldman said that you can quantum jump through certain meditation techniques and certain mental exercises and certain visualization exercises and actually connect with these other versions of yourself. You can even bring something back from them. A weird thing to say. Not bring something back from there.
Right.
Bring something back from them. Your other versions of yourself. Whether any of these versions of ourselves live in realities where demons are coasting through our skies in flying saucers was not mentioned. And holy smokes, Gons, what an interesting thing to pop up in the mainstream media.
I mean, there's so many points to break down here. First of all right, Ron James, senior figure of U.S. government, fear aliens are in fact demons. Great. And then he told it. So Louis Elizondo, isn't he the scammer guy?
Well, it's debated.
Or is that controversial to say?
No, it's debated. Some people think he's more of a shill type, but other people, he was sort of placed. He was kind of brought up, maybe groomed or something. Some people think there might be some double agent things going on there, but he's very popular in the community.
Wasn't he somewhat either related to or had a reference to those alien bodies that they showed at the Mexican Congress? I thought there was something to do with Elizondo. I mean, he's commented on everything.
Jaime. That was Jaime something or other.
You're right.
But Louise definitely would have talked about it, made some comments.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So, one big thing, I mean, we don't even need to mention how freaky it is that the mainstream media is now talking about the absolutely most obscure fringe topic that is the foundation of this podcast going back more than a decade now. We're just going to move right by that because it's starting to freak me out. But
well, here's
the positioning of this is exactly what we predicted 10 years ago, where the UFO phenomenon would be placed directly in counter to Christianity, and not that they're not compatible, but that Christians would be seen as the enemy as far as UFO research goes or UFO disclosure. And, we've been able to pinpoint little bits of evidence of that so far. But right here, they are explicitly talking in the mainstream media about how fundamentalist religious nut jobs in the U.S. Pentagon are directly objecting to the even research of UFOs. And the research is important because it's not just standing in the way of disclosure, standing in the way of, building a good relationship with the extraterrestrials, nothing like that. They are standing in the way of science. The fundamentalist Christians, the loonies in the Pentagon, are standing in the way of science. And of course, we all worship science now, we being the general secular, at least American world, worship science as unto a god. So now you got these fundamentalist Looney Tunes in the Pentagon that is not only, holding us back from whatever, vaccines or evolution research or space research or whatever. No, now they are actively keeping us separate from higher intelligence in the world. In the universe. I think it's interesting how they sort of shifted this article almost seamlessly, very expertly, from these fundamentalist Christians are keeping us away from alien research, but also multiverse. And
that's what I was gonna say, was that aliens are demons. Oh, ridiculous, crazy claim that's preventing science from progressing. But multidimensional beings of other dimensions or universes. Totally scientific, bro. Come on. Like, this is normal science now.
Well, of course, we've been on board with the interdimensional theory of UFOs. And in fact, interdimensional beings is more in line with the biblical research into UFOs or aliens or whatever. It's much more aligned with the biblical perspective that they are interdimensional.
Yeah, you got John Mack, Harvard research that suggested that they're interdimensional beings. You had secular people looking at this saying that it was interdimensional. So it's not. Jacques Vallée is another one. So these are famous names in ufology who looked at ufology and specifically the alien abduction phenomena. And said, yeah, it's not exactly just like, biological creatures running around. There's something else going on. Yeah.
Which is more in line with the biblical, I don't know, just scriptures in general. I mean, the concept of spiritual beings materializing, dematerializing, existing realms. In a realm that is both here but also very far, that type of thing. So it's, I mean, now look, this is the DailyStar, which this isn't I don't know, pick whatever outlet you want. It's a little bit of a wacky outlet in the UK, but as we've seen, especially in the past 3 years, the wacky ideas, they start in the DailyStar or whatever, Daily Mail or Mirror or something like that. They are first released in these sort of what people might consider like less than credible outlets. And then it moves into the more credible outlets. And first of all, the fact that there are people in the Pentagon, and not just people, but a large contingent, apparently a large group of what they're calling fundamentalist Christians who believe that UFOs are demons, is surprising. I mean, you might have. I thought maybe there would be one that's. Well, let me say this. I had not thought about it before. If you would have asked me, I would have said, yeah, there's probably one or two. But as is sort of a confirmation of the context in which we've talked about it for so long, the U.S. government, we know, especially the Pentagon, we know they know much more about UFOs and what we're calling aliens than anybody else in the world. They are the gatekeepers, the holders of the secrets. Whatever anybody knows, they know. And the rest of us are just waiting for them to disclose it or whatever. So it would make sense. It's nothing but evidence that the UFO phenomenon is more aligned with biblical descriptions or biblical research into UFOs than your normal extraterrestrial research. The fact that the one organization in the entire world who has more unknown information about UFOs and aliens, the fact that that secret gatekeeping above reproach, undescribable, powerful institution in the world knows more about UFOs than anybody right now possibly could. And there's a large contingent of them who believe they're demons. I think that's a pretty credible case for the take on aliens that we've had.
Well, let me
for a decade.
Yeah, let me provide just a little different angle. This might ring a bell, Basil. Do you remember the Collins elite?
The name rings a bell. You'll have to remind me.
The Collins elite, I think we talked about it with Justin over on the Fourth Watch and stuff, but basically it's a group of alleged fundamentalist Christians within. It's kind of like a think tank, but for like kind of pro-Christian people in sort of the black budget and UFO research world within government. So they're kind of like the white hats, you can say. And so they've been allegedly around for a while. And I find it very interesting that they are creating this divide and conquer here with a science-based approach on one hand and biblical-based approach for the explanation of the intangible kind of, UFOs and aliens. And these things are not exactly tangible things that you can measure, at least at the moment, general to the public. And similarly, if we look at culturally the divide and conquer methodology, I think this has perhaps some echoes of Christian nationalism.
So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
Your dirty mouth needs a bath.
It's kind of like the instead of Christian nationalism, Christian dimensionalism.
Dimensionalism, yeah. But I can see Christian nationalists kind of piggyback on this side of the argument and becoming
it
political.
is the argument.
Well, if you look at the politics of how this will become more and more politicized, because as it becomes mainstream, it's a natural thing for these topics to become politicized. There's going to be two sides to the story, and so you're going to have your science-based, evolution-based, whatever, and then you're going to have your biblically-based people. And I suppose we align with the biblical side in terms of just not just theoretically, but sort of presuppositionally when it comes to approaching the topics, any topic really, but specifically UFOs and aliens. There seems to be some deep connections to Scripture and a lot of the supernatural events in there. But got to pay attention to the politicization of those things and, herding us into a political group, Basil. I don't like it. I don't like that.
Well, it's more like, I don't know. It could be used as sort of a justification of, categorizing threats, that sort of thing. As we've seen, they take every opportunity to do that. I mean, it is interesting that if there is so many high-level people in the Pentagon and or elsewhere who align with that view, that there would be, yes, the discrepancy will be sort of harped on, and they'll be looped in with anti-vaxxers and whoever.
Right.
I mean, it'll be, it's in not so far away. It could be, by any estimation, as soon as next year, when true UFO disclosure comes out, that the question is not, the question in public, the question at dinner parties, the question, online, it's not, do you believe in aliens?
I don't know if I want to say, maybe we overextended our sort of being early in the space, because there's a part of me that is kind of a nightmare thing. It was kind of hip and cool when we're being rebellious and going against the grain, talking about issues that no one's talking about. But then if everyone's talking about it, I don't know if I want to be around. I might go
Guns, that has been our problem the whole time. That is the horrifying part about you and I still doing what we do.
Yeah, that's true.
Now is that we're not a fringe podcast anymore.
Yeah.
We're not talking about weird, things that you could only talk about on a podcast. We have become a current events podcast talking about UFOs are demons and everything. I mean, that's I think it's the most relevant metric that anybody could measure our current reality in. The fact that Basil and Gons are no longer fringe conspiracy theorists nut jobs who came out of a mega church. No, we are now relevant. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing more terrifying than being relevant. But back to what I was saying, which is at dinner parties with your regular friends, the question will not be, do you believe in aliens?
Right.
Because that's not even a political.
No, it's not political enough. That's
in
more
a political division.
Yeah, it's more philosophical, scientific conversation.
There's no political division in do you believe in aliens. So it's not useful. It's not useful to the establishment or whatever. What is useful is turning the do you believe in aliens question into something political, which is, do you believe they're demons?
Right.
Or do you believe they're, interdimensional peacekeepers or something?
Yeah.
And that will become just an extremely common conversation, and another way in which people will be able to separate themselves from one another, specifically around political ideology. And the other side of this, and this is why I think this particular article is so sort of elegantly wielded as a weapon, is they seamlessly go from, a lot of the guys at the Pentagon, they think that UFOs are demons, where in a normal world, in our previous iteration of normal world, whatever that means, if you say, oh yeah, a bunch of guys in the government, they believe this thing, people would be like, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. That gives it some credibility. But in this sort of expertly crafted article, they they transition from, these religious nut jobs believe UFOs are demons, into, but through meditation techniques and visualization, you can connect with your higher self in a different realm. And is that a demon? I don't know. Perhaps if you're optimistic. What they're doing is they're setting the stage that if you want to be or are an optimistic person, do not believe the crazy Christians. Believe the sort of new agey self-empowerment type of thing, which we've seen for so long.
I was going to actually go there with it because I was kind of scouring X, looking at some of the comments from people regarding this story, and I noticed that there were some new agey people trying to appeal to Christians, saying like, oh, you got it all wrong. They're not demons. What about angels? And then, they were quoting the Bible saying like, oh, see, we entertain angels unaware. Like, you don't even realize that it's happening. And then you like look at their profile and it's like channeling the universal God of whatever. It's just like, oh, wow, this dude's super new age, but he's telling Christians what to think about interdimensional beings or something. Right. And it's so, I mean, it feels like we went through this in 2010, 2011, 2012, but there's nothing new under the sun. So hopefully our content will help Christians get through some of the noise as it gets louder and louder.
Well, and Canarians who are listening now, who have been listening for years, they should feel confident that, I'm terrified that this is sort of the way that the world is going, but they should feel confident because they were on top of the ball for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I will say, if we have any boots on the ground producers in the Pentagon, if you guys are listening, send us an email. We'd love to give you a platform. We'd love to talk to you.
Are you, that might be the end of us right there. You just
extended some Pentagon guy.
Yeah, we'll get some Collins elite insider feeding us some false information so they can discredit us later. It's all going to unfold.
It wouldn't be the first time. We've had people come on the show and give us 2 hours of false information, and we have never been shy to try to debunk them, either after the interview or sometimes during the interview, which causes them to get mad and hang up and disappear. It's a fun one. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah. The true Karen, by the way, way before the Karen phenomenon, we had our own Karen event, and I think that's a notable thing that people don't recognize us enough for.
The proto-Karen.
The proto-Karen,
again, another way that somehow, if this is a simulation, the simulation is just hooked right up to this podcast.
Right.
Because, pretty sure we had the original Karen, the original proto-Karen on the show.
Yeah, so part of this discussion with, if Ezekiel's wheel had to do something with the, Bible and demons, if that was a vision of God, how is that demons? I don't understand the logic there, but okay,
I don't think it was a vision of God. We've heard the Ezekiel's wheel is aliens for years.
Well, we've heard aliens sort of from the the ancient astronaut perspective on things, but I'm talking more about it's compatible with the Bible, and then the people that believe that they're demons, they believe it's from the Bibles and it's not incompatible, and then they use an example of God appearing in the Bible, not demons. So I don't know. It's just a weird.
Yeah.
I guess if you're informed, it's kind of like, what are you even talking about? It doesn't make any. You're not making logical sense here. But
no, okay. Yes, I get what you're saying now. Yes, they bring up the Ezekiel's wheel thing in this article, but the Ezekiel's wheel is not in the Bible in the context. He's
Of a
saying that
demonic-
some people
yeah.
see the Ezekiel's wheel and call it a UFO, which is not a Christian take on that specific scripture.
Right.
That is the ancient aliens take
Yes.
on the scripture, not not like the biblical take. You're right. That's a bad call on their side.
Right.
Shows
They're taking a theophany event in the Bible and calling it, or using it as an example of, that's why, aliens are demons, which is
which,
okay.
as usual, gives away that they're not actually
Informed.
sort of informed or educated
yeah.
on what they're trying to tell the public about, as always, which is another reason they should give us a call. We'll set you straight there, Daily Star.
Part of what might make this conversation even more confusing, more compelling, more divisive is the fact that the old Pope, we haven't talked about the Pope in a while, but the old Pope, back in 2014, this is Time magazine here, headline, "For Pope Francis, it's about more than Martians." And the whole thing was about how the Pope would basically, baptize Martians. And, maybe they're created, God created other creatures, whatever it might be. So, an interesting touching point from about 10 years ago, the Pope discussing aliens. And that brings me actually to a story here that I wanted to run by real quick. And again, there's some parallels to the alien story here. Maybe not obvious up front, but as you kind of dig in, you'll notice it. But where's my Pope jingle? What happened to my Pope jingle? It was all ready to go, and it disappeared on me. Space Pope Reptilian, where are you?
Was the
Give me
aliens?
30 seconds. I know they got rid of it, or the Jesuits they got in there, or something. You know how it goes. You want to acapella?
Wait.
No, I was saying do the jingle, not not.
That's
the
what I
delay.
am doing.
Oh, you are.
It doesn't say wait in there. I think
No,
wait.
it says
Space Pope Reptilian.
Oh, that jingle.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted me to do the wait jingle.
No. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
found it. That's great.
Yeah. This is pbs.org, so it's publicly broadcasted. Headline here: Pope Francis.
State media.
Pope Francis creates 21 new cardinals to help carry out Catholic Church reforms.
Creates is an interesting word.
Don't get me started on cardinals and Stanford University and their influence around the world, and my whole analogy there where I went all bonkers a few episodes ago. Pope Francis created 21 new cardinals at a ritual-filled ceremony Saturday, including key figures at the Vatican and in the field who will help enact his reforms and cement his legacy as he enters a crucial new phase in running the Catholic Church. Now, we all know he's a Jesuit, and
making some political moves there.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. In his instructions to the new cardinals at the start of the service, Francis said their variety and geographic diversity would serve the church like musicians in an orchestra, where sometimes they play solos, sometimes as an ensemble. Quote, "Diversity is necessary. It is indispensable. However, each sound must contribute to the common design," Francis told them. "This is why mutual listening is essential. Each musician must listen to the others." Among the new cardinals was the controversial new head of the Vatican's doctrine office, Victor Manuel Fernandez, and the Chicago-born missionary now responsible for vetting bishop candidates around the globe, Robert Prevost. Also entering the executive club were the Vatican's ambassadors to the United States and Italy, two important diplomatic posts where the Holy See has a keen interest in reforming the church hierarchy. Oh, Italy and the U.S. He'd like to reform church hierarchy in Italy and the U.S. Interesting. Leaders of the church in geographical hotspots like Hong Kong and Jerusalem, fragile communities like Juba, South Sudan, and sentimental favorites like Cordoba, Argentina filled out the roster. Francis's promotions of Prevost and his ambassador to Washington, French Cardinal Christopher Pierre, were clear signs that he has his eye on shifting the balance of power in the U.S. hierarchy, where some conservative bishops have strongly resisted his reforms. So here again, we have some conservatives who are getting in the way of progress. Progress. Pope Francis's version of progress, which is it's pretty woke, and I would guess it's kind of in line with the opposition of what we just read about in the Daily Star. where, you got your sort of fundamental Christians saying the aliens are demons. Well, the Pope said he'd baptize Martians. So we know which side of the aisle he is on that topic. Quote, I think I do have some insights into the church in the United States, Prevost said after the ceremony during a welcome reception in the Apostolic Palace. Quote, so the need to be able to advise, work with the Pope, and to look at the challenges that the church in the U.S. is facing, I hope to be able to respond to them with a healthy dialogue. The ceremony took place days before Francis opens a big meeting of bishops and lay Catholics on charting the church's future, where hot-button issues such as women's role in the church, LGBTQ plus Catholics, and priestly celibacy are all up for discussion. So, yeah, really going in there trying to change some things here. They got some different views. But what's really interesting is that they're really trying to break. So there's a line in here. The Pope wants to radically break from the past, because he says that the old way of governing in the Holy See or Holy Office was they used immoral methods, which is interesting. You talk about the Satanism that kind of infiltrated the Vatican, 150 years ago or more, but just more deliberately. We talk about the Black Pope and all this kind of stuff, and all that took place. And all that comes to the surface, and then you'll have your sort of residual effects with the culture of pedophilia and abuse and all that kind of stuff. But then you have to break away from it. In order to break away, you have to go the extreme opposite, which is all inclusive. Everybody's inclusive. Hey, LGBTQ plus W, whatever. Everybody. Hey, we're all just forget doctrine. Let's just have a kumbaya party.
Yeah. Also aliens.
And aliens. Yeah, aliens. Hey, let's baptize aliens. And it doesn't matter. Here we go. Rather than condemn and judge, Francis said he wanted a doctrine office that guards the faith and gives people hope. He also made clear Fernandez wouldn't have to deal with sex abuse cases, saying the office's discipline section could handle the dossier. So Fernandez, this guy Fernandez that he chose, apparently had a little whoopsie-daisy looking into the whole sexual abuse thing. And there were people during this whole presentation outside, victims of, sort of Catholic Church sexual abuse, protesting and saying how Fernandez helped cover up child sex crimes. And so, yeah, that's the guy getting in there. So that's a good sign. Here we go. With Saturday's ceremony, Francis will have named 99 of the 137 cardinals who are under age 80 and thus eligible to vote in a future conclave to elect his successor. While not all are cookie-cutter proteges of the 86-year-old reigning pontiff, many share Francis's pastoral emphasis as opposed to the doctrinaire-minded cardinals often selected by Pope John II and Benedict XVI. So, again, they're kind of saying he's not really into doctrine, forget doctrine. Let's just kumbaya. They take an oath to the Pope. They wore red because they need to be strong, quote, even to the shedding of blood. So that's kind of weird, but there you go. Now you have the Pope is going to press in. He is also trying to overturn certain hierarchy within the U.S. Church and Italy, which is a HQ over there for the Vatican, and put his fingerprints all over his time as Pope. And man,
give me your connection to the alien topic.
Well, we started with that, with Pope Francis saying that it's more about Martians and the baptizing of aliens. And so if you're talking about, like we mentioned in the conversation, if it's all inclusive, if it's that hyper progressivism, you're leading into that transhuman, alien, whatever, that the craziness that is upon us, the open Satanism that is disguised as, hey, we're just here to help everybody, we're just here to love everybody, that whole thing. For it to come from the Vatican, I mean, we Catholic brothers and sisters, there are many who are in Christ and many, some who aren't or whatever. But, when you have the Pope saying things like that, I know there are a lot of Catholics who are against it, but talk about the politicization of a topic, within the Catholic Church, it might be very interesting to see who goes with, hey, I'm going to go stick with more scripture stuff. And, hey, the Pope said it, so, hey, we're just going to go with the Pope, what the Pope says. Yeah.
When you were pitching the story before the show today, you said something that really clicked for me, which was that, it's clear that he's making these cardinals He's doing it politically to continue his own legacy.
Right. Yes.
To build his voting base within the Vatican, so that his legacy, A, of progressivism, but B, of the acknowledgement and acceptance and baptizing of aliens.
Right.
And he's sort of installing the bureaucratic mechanisms into the church and the future church to position itself to properly take advantage of when true disclosure happens. And you have, the fundamentalists in the Pentagon talking about their demons, but you have the Pope, they're both, to a non-religious person, to a secular person,
it's all the
they
same,
don't really get the difference between, the Pope, the leader of the Christians, and, an American evangelical.
Right.
They kind of consider them the same thing. So when you have the Pope making long-term bureaucratic moves to establish the legacy of pro-alien
baptism doctrine.
Doctrine.
Don't focus on doctrine. Maybe that's why he's like, hey, forget doctrine real quick, okay? Let's just love each other, because he's going to make an egregious doctrinal change or something. Yeah.
He's installing the mechanisms for Catholics, or specifically the Vatican, to weather the storm of alien disclosure, whereas the evangelicals will be seen as the enemies of science, the enemies of peace, the enemies of, all these things. And once again, the Pope doing a great job of positioning the Vatican to maintain their power,
their authority. Yeah,
their authority and their power by aligning with the pro-alien sort of sentiment.
I don't think people that are in culture right now, engaging with culture, especially woke culture and anti-woke culture, I don't think most people in that doing it realize how much it ties into the topic of aliens and the topic of transhumanism and all that stuff, because we're so close to it. It's almost like it feels like we're about to hit a cliff of some kind, as a society. And when you see a cliff coming, you kind of clench up a little bit, maybe or even if you're on a roller coaster or something,
all those cliffs that I head straight for.
You're an adventure man. I figured you've fallen off a couple cliffs.
I've fallen off a cliff or two.
Yeah. So I've jumped off a cliff. I mean, I landed in water, but
lucky.
Yeah. What did a helicopter catch you?
Sometimes you don't always land in the water.
Oh, that's true.
Sometimes
you're right. That's true.
Sometimes an orca jumps up and you just slide right down his gullet, and then you're just there in his belly for 3 days, and
that's true.
Taken to a place where God told you to go and you didn't want to go, and now you smell like fish.
Yep. Good way to start off our Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Yeah, believe it or not, folks, you blinked just like I did, and the weekend's gone. And we're starting another week, and it's so very exciting. We're glad to have you here with us. Gons, do you have anything to report from the battlefields over the weekend?
No, other than there was a couple articles that we didn't do today that one of them had to do with how the time.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
I want to do that next show.
Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, because you made a reference to how the weekend was going
I've been talking
fast
about it
and
so much. Mm-hmm. It's all I've been talking about recently.
Yeah, and then now, of course, we talk about something, and then there are articles about it.
Extreme news.
Simulation,
right?
yes, continues.
We're better than a magic 8-ball.
Gosh.
And less satanic as well.
Oh, great. Wonderful. What about you?
Yeah, I was very busy this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I have a buddy who got married.
Fight the New World Order.
Yeah, right.
Get married, opposite gender, and have babies.
He's fighting the good fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I was busy doing marriage stuff. You got so many responsibilities.
I hope. there's
buddy of the groom.
If there's a wedding speech, a few drinks in, of somebody that really goes in hard on like having kids is the way to fight the New World Order and just gets real passionate about it.
That's so good.
That's like a movie
funny.
scene from I don't know, some fringe Christian movie about weddings.
You'll definitely get the parents on your side.
Yeah, you would. Let's have those babies. You fight the eye, okay?
One of the things that I had to do for this wedding was learn a little dance and do a little dance. It was one of those weddings where the groomsmen
you could
do
break
a little
out
dance.
And dance. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Not normally something that I would want to do or
are you
even
secretly
agree
on
to do.
TikTok? Is there a footage of you on TikTok? I mean, nobody would know it's you, obviously.
Good question. I don't think so, and I hope not. Nobody has brought that to my attention.
Doxed.
So I hope it stays that way. But, it's fun. I didn't have the best attitude about it, but I nailed it and was told by several people at the wedding that I was the best dancer. So I'm just going to take that. Maybe they got paid to try to make me feel better about it. I don't know.
The Collins elite are already amongst you. They are working. Yeah. They're schmoozing you at weddings to try to
psychological
get into
operation goes deep. Okay, I wanted to real quick because we don't do this often because we haven't been getting them often.
Yeah.
And I'd like to change that. So I want to read a review.
Hey, reviews. Wow. Completely unprepared for your little...
No, that's okay. You prepare yourself while I mention this. Reviews, believe it or not, folks, are actually still very important. And when we harangued everybody every episode to leave us reviews, we got a nice stream of reviews that really helped out the show. Lately, not... There it is. Lately, not so much. We got, besides the one that we have now, our last review was July something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was July something. And then we just got our first review since July, which is not good. It's just not good for us. So I would like to encourage people, if you have not done it yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. It helps us out so much. We're approaching 1,000 reviews, which is a big milestone. It's great for the algorithms. It's great for people, checking out the show. It's just really important. And not only is it, it's two-factored. One is, what you write in the review is helpful for people who want to check out the show. They read your review, they see all the different things, and then they check it out. But also the number of ratings and reviews that we've gotten, is important because if you're checking out a podcast, not you, dear listener, you're much more refined than this, but the average person who is recommended a podcast or they randomly find it, they'll check the ratings and reviews, kind of like when you're shopping on Amazon. And when you have a lot of reviews, especially 5-star reviews, then it's like, oh, wow, this is a thing. People are actually tuning into this. Wow, cool. Let's do that. Let's check it out. So we are currently at 906 worldwide ratings. I think for the U.S. we're at 700-something.
783.
783. But I would like to begin the road to 1,000. That would be very nice. So I would like to thank this reviewer who broke our dry spell, our 3-month, 2-month, 3-month, I don't know, dry spell.
Yeah.
And that is Julie Givigis.
Oh, you're not looking at the one I'm looking at.
No, because I'm looking at the actual back end here.
You're looking at
and this one's from Canada, guys.
Hey.
This is a Canadian producer. Thank you, Canadian producer.
Yeah.
Comes in 5 stars, the only podcast, which is a new thing that we've heard.
That's all it says? The only podcast?
The only podcast. No,
I feel like they were going to say more, but accidentally hit submit.
No, no, they said some more here. This is literally the one and only podcast I listen to.
Hey.
Been listening since the beginning and will listen to the end.
Woo.
Basil and Gons bring so much godly wisdom and insight to the table. The community that surrounds the podcast, too, that's you folks listening, the community that surrounds the podcast too is also pretty great. Well, I think you guys are pretty great too. Thank you very much, Julie. And this was a new take, and I really appreciated it. It kind of reminded me of that quote of like that people say about dogs, like, "Oh, to you, they're just part of your life, but to them, you're their whole life."
Did you just call a reviewer
they're just
a dog?
A listener.
Oh my goodness.
But to them, you are the only podcast. And I like it. It's a big responsibility. We've always taken the responsibility very seriously, but this makes it even more serious. So thank you very much, Julie. And no, I did not I did not purposefully compare you to a dog.
You were pointing out the loyalty.
Sure. Or, I don't actually even know what it is, but I appreciate it. All right. And with that, Guns, let's thank some executive producers and keep this show rolling.
Executive producers.
Yeah, folks, we're on the value for value model, which means we take no money from commies, cartels, or corporations. Nope, we're entirely funded by you. It's the only way this show can exist. It is a rebellion against the monolithic corporate structure of podcasting, which allows corporate powers and the political powers that influence them to single-handedly, unilaterally destroy or allow podcasts to thrive. And it's not just us relying on corporations to keep us alive, but it's also a matter of y'all, you producers, you listeners. Do you want to let the corporations decide whether we exist or not? And so far, it's been a resounding no. And it's really a paradigm shift. It's a mindset. It's a worldview issue. We've been raised up to assume that media will be free because corporations will pay for it. And look where that's got us. It's horrible. It's a bad system. So we are committed to doing the value for value model. And you can produce the show. You can be a podcast producer. You can help out with your time, your talent, or your treasure. So lots of ways to produce the show. But the executive... But the executive producers, they come in, they support an individual episode with $100 or more, and it really means a lot to us. So we'd like to thank them at the top here. Gons, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, today I would like to thank our one and only executive producer. And yeah, you guessed it, folks. It is executive producer Sir Alex Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol.
Woo! Amazing.
Holy smokes. He's on a 217 episode producer streak. And this is... Oh, yeah. Streakalicious. This is also his 13th episode in a row of executive producing the show.
Sir Alex Protocol V2 single-handedly creating a whole new tier of producer.
He is a pioneer on the frontier of the producer streak. With the executive producer streak. Yeah. See, folks, there's a lot of ground to be broken around here, and Sir Alex Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol is doing it. And of course, he came in with his normal $100.33.
Hey. I kind of like the paladin idea somebody brought up.
Yeah, I heard that paladin. That's a great next step, perhaps from paladin. Knight or maybe it's an additional honorific that comes at, a certain executive producer streak or something.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds interesting. We'll explore it more. Thank you very much, Sir Alex Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol. And thank you to everybody else. I do want to real quickly mention...
Before you move on, Alex Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol, thank you very much.
Where'd you find this?
Now you
real quick, we're going to get moving here in a second, but I do want to mention that y'all should go to canarycrymeetups.com.
Oh, meetups.
Yeah. And it's, meetups are a huge part of what people are very impacted by when we talk about the community surrounding this podcast. These meetups are people just like you all over the world putting on a meetup, meeting other Canarians. And, when you listen to the same podcast as someone, there's a pretty good chance you have a lot in common. And so people have really been blessed by the Canary Cry meetups. And you can go to canarycrymeetups.com to check them all out. October is a busy month for the meetups. Just to run through them real quick, if you are in or around any of these areas, we highly recommend you put in the time, show up to a meetup, meet some people in your area. It's good to make friends. People have gotten married from meeting at these meetups, as well as, just connecting with your apocalypse buddies once the world ends here. But Saturday, October 14th, we've got the Tennessee meetup. Camden.
We might hear more from Sam and the crew here before the October 14th meetup. So this might be more than just a meetup. I mean, it is more than a meetup. It's the release of their album,
we should definitely, I see what you're saying. Yeah, this is at the Self-Reliance Festival. There's a meetup at the Camden, Tennessee Self-Reliance Festival, which sounds cool. Maybe we should go out there. Maybe we should get a booth. Should we see if we can get a booth at this festival? We've also got Houston, Texas on October 21st. We've got New Braunfels, Texas, October 22nd. And we recently had the Austin, Texas, just a few days ago.
Right.
I would like to hear how that went. But there you go, especially for Texas. Now, here's the thing, folks. Maybe you're not in Texas. Maybe you're not in Tennessee. That's okay. If you are in a mid-level metropolitan area, or near one, at least in the United States, there are Canarians near you. It's just a matter of putting on a meetup and luring them out to your, coffee shop or bar, thrift store, or googly-eyed convention, whatever it is. So if you want to put on a meetup, highly recommend it, highly encourage it. Send us an email at canarycryradio@gmail.com with the information, or if you just have questions and want tips or whatever, just connect. And then we'll put it on the website. We will tell the world about it, and you'll make friends, perhaps even meet your forever girlfriend.
Don't start making promises, Basil.
Not promising, but it is possible. A non-zero chance that you will meet your forever girlfriend or forever boyfriend.
There's a chance.
Okay, Flippy.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
All right, folks, time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways the robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it. Now, usually this is about robots, robotic arms. We cast a not-so-wide net, but once in a while we will sort of drift out to the periphery of the Flippy update, but we always bring it back. This Flippy update is coming from Business Insider, and this was some pretty big news over the weekend, and I can see why. There's lots of different angles on what happened this weekend, and I chose this one. BusinessInsider.com. Mark Zuckerberg agreed it could be possible to use the metaverse to bring back the dead virtually.
Who should we tickle next? I am not a lizard.
Now, a new video came out over the weekend where Mark Zuckerberg claims to have been on the very first Metaverse podcast, which another moment in current event history that both delighted and enraged me, because this was not the first Metaverse podcast, because yours truly has been podcasting from the Metaverse for over 3 years now. But
you've gotten kidnapped in the Metaverse while on air. I mean,
it's true.
What is this? These people. Liar! That's what Zuckerberg is.
And I've been in the Wild West metaverse where it's all glitchy and sketchy and people can transport you out of your own metaverse and into theirs.
Giant Homer Simpsons in your room and stuff.
Yeah. Zuckerberg has his nice, clean new metaverse. Now, remember, folks, we talked a lot about the metaverse the past couple of years. We've talked about it philosophically. We talked about it biblically. We've talked about it in a sort of futurology sort of way. We've talked about it under many different circumstances. And Mark Zuckerberg, when he came out with his big new news, the metaverse, and it was so bad. The graphics were horrible. You were this little Wii character with, cartoonish graphics that were horrible. No arms, no legs. It was stupid. And it was stupid. But we maintained that just because it's stupid now doesn't mean that it's not going to be executed, mainly because of all the money behind it. When the money is there, that is the sort of alchemical occult significance that the sort of worldwide elite use to cast their spells, to control reality for their own benefit. And if enough money is behind something, doesn't matter how good or bad it is, it will succeed. And after Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse kind of pittered out and everybody lost interest, we said on the show, or I said, I'm sure you agreed, don't fall for it. Do not be tricked. The metaverse is not going away. In fact, I pontificated on the fact that I think he made it so bad, that first iteration.
The conversation, yeah.
It looked so junky. It was lame. The movement was horrible. It was not a good experience. I pontificated, I theorized that there's no reason why he would have made it so bad, except for the long-term play that is coming back from that with the real product.
Right.
That was like first edition fake product to install the idea in everybody's mind, and then it's horrible and it's nobody likes it, but then you come back with the real thing, and that has just happened. The article goes like this. There's a chance Meta's highly realistic new avatars could one day be used as a way to interact with loved ones who have passed away. In a recent interview with podcaster Lex Friedman, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg discussed the future possibilities of VR and the metaverse. The interview served as a debut for Meta's new codec avatars that use scanning technology to build 3D models of the user's face. During the interview, which took place in the metaverse, Friedman said, quote, "I would love to talk to people who are no longer here that are loved ones. So if you look into the future, is that something you think about?" Good old Lex, phrasing stuff like a robot. Zuckerberg acknowledged it was a complex idea, but said there was, quote, "probably some balance for the concept of creating a virtual version of a deceased person by using VR and AR technology." He told Friedman, "If someone has lost a loved one and is grieving, there may be ways in which being able to interact or relive certain memories could be helpful." He added there was also an extent to which this could become unhealthy. Quote, "I'm not an expert in that, so I think we'd have to study that and understand it in more detail," he added. Representatives from Mark Zuckerberg did not immediately respond to insiders' request for comment made outside normal working hours. Okay. So they sent him an email at 3 a.m. last night. And he did not make any comments. Now, if you've seen the video, I sent you the video.
Yeah, we're kind of watching some of it. For those
are you playing it? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the show, you can see it, and they play this segment of the first Metaverse podcast with the outstandingly upgraded software and hardware. Now, of course, something this incredible did not get made overnight. Surely he was already
scanned,
not just working on this, but very far along with this technology when he came out with his junky cartoon metaverse. So I think that further supports our theory. But if you have not seen the video, it is impressive. The video starts out, you see Lex Friedman talking, you see Mark Zuckerberg talking, and they're in a dark room, and you're like, okay, what are these guys talking about? And then suddenly it is revealed that is not actually them. That is a 3D rendering of them that is being live streamed into the metaverse, and they are talking with one another from across the country in this metaverse, this dark room, and with pixel perfect. Oop, my eyeball fell off. My VR headset.
Your fleshverse is falling apart.
About. Yeah. It is pixel perfect representation, 3D scan of their faces in real time, moving their mouth, moving their face. And what's interesting about this is it's going off of a live scan of their face. And so, when you have graphics of a person, no matter how good the graphics are, it always feels weird because, when you talk, it's not just your mouth opening up and down. You have muscles in your cheeks, muscles in your temples, your eyes, things. There's a lot of stuff moves on your face when you even just simply talk, which has been very hard to replicate in traditional, 3D modeling of people. But because it's a scan, it's just like a perfect representation, feels very natural. And sure, maybe it's not perfect, but it's just going to get better. And Lex Fridman is quite impressed with this. And if a lot of people know about Lex, but he's a podcaster, he's a scientist, he's like one of the intellectual dark web fellows, which made me a little bit disappointed in him, that he didn't know that there are companies that are already doing VR representations of dead loved ones. We've reported on that for a couple of years.
There was a project called Meta Hero, where I'm showing the website now. It's Heroes Keep It Real. Be yourself in the virtual world. Get scanned and experience the true potential of the metaverse. And you get to basically be you, but you like a fully pixelated, super high definition version of yourself in the metaverse. Right. So these things are already out.
Covered the Japanese company that was specifically creating moments for making an AI version of a dead loved one through journals and recordings and stuff like that. And the one specifically that we tuned into was a mother who got to visit her dead child in the metaverse and had a very powerful experience. Hey, Basil, so this has been going on.
You can schedule a scan with a Meta Hero. You want to get scanned?
No, not really. Anyways, so of course this conversation, a little disappointed in Lex for not knowing about it already, but hey, that's what you get. Your super popular podcasters are not the ones that know everything. That's your obscure mid-level podcasters like us. The article continues. Friedman was impressed by how realistic Meta's new avatars were, a vast improvement from its previous attempts with the technology that were savagely mocked online. One cartoonish image of Zuckerberg's early metaverse avatar outside the virtual version of the Eiffel Tower posted on social media famously became the target of internet memes. Okay, thank you, Business Insider. Meta has struggled to maintain consumer and investor interest in the metaverse after being hyped as the next big thing. Reality Labs, the division... I'm sorry. I don't know why I read this whole thing. But so the reason this is in the Flippy update is because on this topic of dead loved ones being brought back by both AI and the metaverse so you can visit with your dead loved ones, hopefully they get scanned before they pass and they're not, you're not talking to their corpse version. But the idea is not just that you play a video game that you can talk to your grandma. The Flippy update is about how the robots are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses, and now replacing our grandma. They're replacing our dead loved ones, not
what about,
just because
resurrecting relatives in the metaverse.
Sure, resurrecting our relatives. Because this version of your grandma in the metaverse is not just a programmed NPC. This version will be an active large language model artificial intelligence that is active and reactive. And, again, a lot of critics out there say, it's not there yet. It's not going to. Yeah, it might not be there right now, however, lots of the LLMs are incredibly convincing in just a conversational way, you know. But to have an artificially intelligent, powered, convincing sit down with your dead relative is sort of a next step in the sort of nightmarish, ghoulish ways that humans are creating robots, not just to take our jobs, not just to, change our economy, but to, again, affect our psychology, to grab our hearts, to manipulate our view of reality, because we already know the AI girlfriends that became such a big thing. It's actually causing a crisis in the Gen Z space that the young men who are already have had their sort of masculine identity stripped from them because of all the progressivism and stuff. They don't know what to do. It's causing lots of mental health problems, and the AI girlfriends are good enough that they are refusing to date real women because the AI girlfriends are just, perfect. They're exactly what they want. They don't argue. They don't.
Wow, this sounds like things we were hearing from Japan like 20 years ago, from like robots and computer stuff. And
totally. Yeah. So in the same way, you can resurrect your dead loved one, but it's obviously not the real one. It's better. You can live out an entirely new relationship with your dead relative. You can pop in, talk to them all the time. You can check in at the end of your day. You sit there, you talk to them. But it's even better than your relative was when they were alive, because this version of your relative gives you everything you ever wanted from your relative that they didn't give you when you were alive. You have think of the therapeutic version of this, which is, EMDR. My dad died. He was a bad dad. We had a bad relationship. He gave me trauma. And now instead of going to therapy for 15 years to try to get through it, now you sit down with an AI version of your dead father, and he tells you how proud he is of you, how much he loves you.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in the context of psychology, because EMDR is that you visualize your trauma and you recontextualize, or you recreate that event in your mind, and then you kind of try to move on from it emotionally or whatnot. If you can create a visual, full sensory experience of something like that, I mean, this is an industry. Therapy in VR metaverse will probably be massive, just for the, I don't know, I was going to say novelty, but it's not really the novelty. It will become sort of like an emotional addiction for people.
Yes, exactly. Like the AI girlfriends, it becomes an emotional addiction. And, lots of people have emotional addictions to a lot of things, whether it's pets or food or people.
Emus.
Yeah, but now it's an emotional addiction to an idealized version of your dead loved one that never existed.
Yeah, and it's an abstraction away from reality. It's
Delulu is the Salulu.
Yeah, I know.
Delulu is the Salulu, folks. It just keeps popping up. Gen Z's greatest work. Delusion is the solution. So there you go. Flippy is not only flipping our burgers and handling HR, but Flippy is also inhabiting the idealized version of your dead relatives. Thanks, Flippy.
You and I live in an age of deceit.
Satan federal health officials.
He's a Satanist.
Devil worshiper.
All those things wrapped up in one nice package here from the New York Post headline. An inside look at the satanic neo-Nazi pedophile cult that ensnared New York City man arrested on gun charges. This story came out, last week? A lot of people were sharing it, a lot of people talking about it. The crossroads of Satanism and Nazis.
Nazis are not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
I feel like it's part of the psyop to really get everyone talking about Nazis again. But okay, here we go. A satanic pedophile cult I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just kind of ridiculous to me that we're reading this out of the New York Post as, in like a serious. It just rings Babylon B. A satanic pedophile cult uncovered by the FBI after the arrest of a Queens man 2 years ago in an offshoot of a much older neo-Nazi organization, or is an offshoot of a much older neo-Nazi organization that wants to destroy Western civilization. That's our theme for the rest of the segment here. According to an overseas nonprofit that's been tracking the hate group, what is this overseas nonprofit? Federal authorities stumbled upon the newer group, which is named 764, but goes by a number of aliases, while investigating Angel Almeida, interestingly spelled Angel Almeida, a 23-year-old convicted felon from Queens who was busted with a gun in November 2021. See, all you Second Amendment people, all you people who think it's okay to have guns, well, you must be all Satanists, satanic pedophiles. The loosely organized commune of creeps appears to be intensely interested in targeting kids on the internet, then threatening, intimidating, or blackmailing them into recording acts of self-mutilation, animal abuse, sex acts, and even their own suicides, according to an FBI warning issued earlier this month. But
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and this is sort of the, I don't know, we've kind of known about the internet, like the exploitation culture of the dark interwebs. So I, this isn't new, but also to have it associated with one, or, I guess a more of a group rather than just like, just random bad people is kind of interesting.
Right. Lone wolf.
Right. But sources told The Guardian that 764 is an outgrowth of an older, larger organization known as the Order of Nine Angels, which the Institute of Strategic Dialogue called a, quote, I love this, decentralized satanic neo-Nazi organization.
Bent there it is.
On the overthrow of Western governments.
We've seen this demonization of decentralization.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Because it's hard to control, hard to take down, and is the antithesis of one world government.
Right. It's sort of the rogue group. The other thing to point out here, Order of Nine Angels is something that I think a lot of our long-term listeners, the bells will go off immediately, and I'm sure it did when people, you all listening or watching out there, heard about this story if you heard it before, because we've talked about the Council of Nine. I made a video about the Enneagram, the Enneagram that got kind of popular in progressive Christianity. Well, it's based on, some people called it disruptive spiritual technology, like Christians or alleged Christians were calling it that a few years ago. And in the video that I published back in 2019 on this topic, I outlined a document about the Council of Nine. The Council of Nine, who was a group that was channeled through Andrea Puharich, and I think Uri Geller was one of the guys that's part of the whole situation. But this is in like the 40s and 50s, post-World War II. They're channeling entities, the Ennead, this Council of Nine gods, and how they're going to provide wisdom, and they're actually God, and that kind of stuff. Like God is the nine principles and all that nonsense that seems to pop up over and over again. That's why you got the Deep Space Nine. Forgot to mention the connection between Andrea Puharich and Gene Roddenberry, who obviously the producer of the Star Trek series, was very highly influenced by this channeling of the Council of Nine. So that's why, in Star Trek, there's 9 members on the ship and blah, blah, blah. So there's that part of it that I was immediately reminded of. And also Derek Gilbert was pointing out how in his most recent book, The Second Coming of Saturn, The Great Conjunction, America's Temple, and the Return of the Watchers, he outlined or mentioned the council, or not the council, I think it was more specifically the Order of Nine Angels in connection with the Watchers, the ones that came down on Mount Hermon and said they were going to mate with human women and created the Nephilim back in the Genesis 6 days. So, it would make sense that they're the ones that are pushing youth exploitation just from a spiritual perspective, pedophilia, Satanism, all that stuff. So, just to create the divide and conquer here, and keep the lines a little bit more clear. I'm back to the New York Post article here. The group commonly referred to as O9A, believes the West's Judeo-Christian heritage, quote, corrupts modern society, according to the ISD, an independent nonprofit human rights organization based in London. I like how they slowly reveal the group here that did the analysis. As such, it wants to, quote, replace the current order with a new imperial order based on fascism, social Darwinism, and Satanism, the Institute wrote. Quote, O9A followers are encouraged to commit random acts of extreme violence, sexual assault, and the culling of human victims to accelerate the breakdown of the Judeo-Christian Western system. Remember a few episodes ago, Basil, I was talking about how they're going to try to split the Judeo and the Christian.
Yeah.
I didn't think Satanism or neo-Nazi Satanism would be sort of the vehicle to do that, but there you go. It looks like they're the one.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And plus, yeah, well, I'm not going to get too far off course here, but I think a lot of people having that conversation about Judeo-Christianity and sort of the Christian nationalism versus more of your, support Israel kind of Christians, seems like one side might be aligning with the neo-Nazi Satanists. I'm just going to say. And it goes into some more information here. Do you want to go through all of this? I mean, it goes through the history of the
no, not necessarily. I'm more interested in people kind of the broad strokes. It is very dense and very long, and goes into the investigation and kind of covers a little bit of history, which we would already know on this show if you're paying attention. But yeah, there are a lot of angles to this thing. I think the Second Amendment angle is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm interested with the sort of conundrum that's being presented here, because usually, the reveling in basically Christians getting busted for guns or something, or not even that, but the conservative protection of the Second Amendment is the usual image that comes up for somebody when you talk about gun control.
Right.
You're thinking about a white middle America, usually man who goes to church and loves guns. But of course, it's really not talked about in the media too much, but there's all sorts of people who like guns, and to pin it to satanic neo-Nazis is a great way to sort of broaden that net as to all the unsavory people who like guns, and how a simple gun charge could lead to something much more horrifying and horrible and criminal and evil. But it's because of the gun. The gun was the clue that led us to the satanic neo-Nazi pedophile ring. All these right-wing conservatives talking about the pedophile ring in Washington and the elites, but look, their own gun friends are satanic pedophiles. What a twist.
Well, also, we talked about the Pope earlier in the Vatican, and their whole issue with, the children stuff. I don't know, kind of interesting. Yeah, it's kind of, if you create a Venn diagram of all these different groups, there's like overlaps of certain things, and it's almost like they're trying to get one clump of like, see, these are the bad people for society.
Right.
There's a part in here later in the article that mentions how there's a group here from the 1970s, a British neo-Nazi group that believed that the current world order will crumble, only to be replaced with a militaristic Nazi revival society called the Imperium. And after the Imperium, they believe another aeon will eventually lead the Aryan race colonizing outer space. Sounds like Elon.
Interesting.
But standing in their way are the pillars of Western society, namely Judeo-Christian values, racial equality is in the way, human rights, democracy, and capitalism, among others. So interesting. It kind of hits everything. Some conservative talking points as well as some liberal talking points. It's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. So it's as far as a useful psyop, this is fantastic because it really creates chaos and confusion. amongst people. And it's useful to, blame your conservatives, like you said, with sort of the gun angle or, 2F, Second Amendment issue. Or you can, like us, be like, hey, it's bad. These people are bad. And yeah, there's a satanic cult of pedophiles, running around, and it's been, we were made fun of, or not us, only us, a whole slew of people who were talking about the whole Pizzagate thing. And we were talking about stuff like that even before then. They just had cultural touching points and names at a certain point, like Pizzagate. But it's always kind of been there. So I find it interesting that now it's all coming to the surface. Now it's all being exposed. Now it's all getting disseminated into, especially the really, I'm sorry, I'm ranting on here, but really the conservative crowd, like the newly found conservatives who are really just itching for the next, thing to be mad about or thing to be outraged about and to affirm their sort of biases. So I find it all interesting that it's all coming to light now.
It's very interesting. Well, it's also interesting that so many in the mainstream media will scoff at the idea that there's a satanic pedophile ring of elites at the highest level of society, the types of people who can historically commit whatever crimes they want and get away with it due to their power and wealth and influence. But no, that's crazy. That's crazy that the people who could get away with it are doing it. It's all about these crazy, satanic pedophile
people,
street people. That's real. Those
the
are
decentralized group of individuals.
Yeah.
They're throwing the cultural tentacles under the bus, so to speak, so the elite can stay hiding and doing.
Yeah, right. There's a little bit of a diversion.
Yeah.
You good? You want to talk about
let's
5G warfare?
Let's do it, yeah.
Okay.
And rumors of wars.
Welcome to Chinese news.
It comes from China. China. It's not racist at all, no.
Mind control weapons.
Heavy episode.
So I have been having a lot of conversations about 5G warfare, fifth generation warfare, not 5G. It's just been one of those, sometimes I get a little obsessed with a certain topic and I do a lot of research and I dig and dig and dig and dig. And then I start seeing it, how it's manifesting in, everyday life and blah, blah, blah. And fifth generation warfare is obviously one of the concepts that are affecting all of our daily lives on every day. And so I've taken the opportunity here or there, wherever, maybe at the coffee shop, maybe at
you just yell at people,
maybe at a wedding.
Oh boy!
Do a little dance.
Doesn't matter. Fifth generation warfare right now. The speech. You being here, we're in a war.
To start talking people's ears off about fifth generation warfare. And I've never talked somebody's ear off
what?
Or so many people's ears off about such an obscure topic and gotten such profound responses.
Hey, the people are ready.
And if y'all have missed sort of my previous breakdowns on this, the long story short is we are currently, right now, in a fifth generation war. We are at war, not just with Ukraine, but of course with other superpowers, including China. And the thing about fifth generation warfare, and a lot of this comes straight from the top, folks, the think tanks, the Pentagon, the elite thinkers who are in charge of figuring out what's going on in the world. We're talking about fifth generation warfare, which is sort of this futuristic, kind of strangely defined version of warfare. And I want to be clear. I just want to say it out loud because I've needed to really drill this in some of my other conversations with people about it, is that fifth generation warfare, the war for your mind, the war for the minds of civilians, the weaponizing of civilians, against their own country informationally, it is not a metaphor. It is not an allegory. It is not a comparison. It's not a simile. I'm not saying it is like a real war. It is literally warfare, and it is literally, we are literally in a war right now, an active, hot, fifth-generation war. We think we are at peace. We are not at peace. We are officially in a fifth-generation war right now. But the beautiful thing about fifth-generation warfare is when it is most effectively executed, civilians don't even know
that they're fighting it.
They don't even know until it's over. There will not be talk about it until it is over. And that is not basil sauce put on the situation. That is written in black and white in the official documents from government and think tanks about what fifth generation warfare is. At its core, people will not know they are in a fifth generation war until it is over. And, of course, you can look around you in the information space where global superpowers, and not even just nation states, but corporations. That's another aspect of fifth-generation warfare, is that it is primarily executed through corporations and not militaries. It is very sort of abstract to the mind that is accustomed to thinking of warfare as guns and camouflage. But it is no less warfare, and it is, in fact, even more effective in most cases than an actual, hot war with bullets. And this, all this information has been in fairly obscure places. I'm having to dig through government websites, having to dig through like foreign policy magazines, and to kind of find the underground sort of intelligentsia that are talking about this, that nobody's really like hooking into, because it is very like dense and intellectual and hard to explain, and kind of breaks the paradigm of war. The
right up our
is
alley.
Not picking it. Yeah, right. Mainstream's not picking it up, but it's perfect for this show.
Yeah.
Until now. So this is coming from express.co.uk.
Another
and again, you might be thinking,
yeah,
what a rag. That's not, it doesn't count or whatever. But as we've discovered and tracked for many years now, it starts in these rags and then gets picked up by the mainstream once the real journalists can't deny it anymore, and it catches on so powerfully with the public that the journalists have to find a way to report on it while spinning it for their corporate interests.
Yeah,
because as we know, the journalists are sort of the front line of the war, and they don't even know it.
Right.
They are being wielded as a weapon for the ideological forces that are fighting this war.
Yeah, I was going to say, before you read this, understand that what we are going to read from the Express, is it express.co.uk here?
Yeah.
Itself, the article itself is part of fifth generation warfare. So keep that in mind. Right. It might help you absorb some of the stuff instead of buying into everything that's being read here. So
and knowing that as we read this, you'll kind of be able to see it.
You'll see what's going on.
You'll feel it. Yes. So even as I read this in the mainstream media, this is not them waking up and trying to warn the people about fifth generation warfare, that their minds are being fought over and fought with. No, this is a part of the psychological operation.
Yep.
The headline goes like this: Inside China's plans to hijack minds in hidden cognitive war against the West, by John McGleone. The brain, quote, is the battlefield of tomorrow, according to James Giordano, an expert in biosecurity. That's interesting already. Biosecurity.
Why do we need an expert in biosecurity?
It's like securing the brains, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
this fact is certainly not lost on the Chinese Communist Party. So already, they're not even putting it in the context of the American government's fifth generation war, controlling and wielding the minds of the populace.
Or just the West.
To conquer,
in the
yeah.
West,
well, the West invented it.
I know.
I mean, remember, the fact that American culture is America's biggest export is sort of a proto-version of fifth-generation warfare. Because if you can capture the minds of the civilians in countries around the world, giving them blue jeans, rock and roll, Taylor Swift, whatever, Hollywood, all that stuff, that is all part of fifth-generation warfare. And it's been going on since before fifth-generation warfare has been sort of identified and theorized about.
Yeah.
But we invented it. That is the way that we have been able to control the world in the way that we have for so long. But it's not about us, Cons. This isn't about us.
Hey, careful when you say we. I know you mean the West, but
the West, yes, but it's not about the West.
Yeah,
Don't
sure.
think about that. Don't look down the barrel of your own government's gun. This is about the Chinese Communist Party. Recent reports clearly show that the CCP is determined to conquer the cognitive domain. Got all domain warfare here, not just domestically, but globally. To control the mind is to control the person. In short, control enough minds and you control the world. Like America. I added that part. Giordano, a professor of neurology and director of the neuroethics program at Georgetown University. CIA University. Georgetown CIA University.
Those
Medical
Bulldogs.
Center. Yeah. Told the Daily Express US that the concept of cognitive warfare, quote, entails and obtains two dimensions. Quote, the first, he says, engages in understanding of and means of access to neurological systems and mechanisms that have been identified as operative to functionally participatory in both individual and group cognitive and emotional processes. In basic English, Giordano means hijacking the human brain. You can think of this part as, it's so funny because there's videos and articles, and we've talked about it too, of patents, mind control patents.
Yeah.
And one of them is like a television. The EMF like field of the television goes into your brain and returns it back, and how it's patented literally as a mind control device.
Yeah.
That's just one example. There's many more. So when it gets into big fancy words, just remember, it's like TV. It's just media. It's controlling social media. These are the things they're talking about. The second dimension, notes Giordano, the director of the Institute for Biodefense Research in Washington, D.C., is, notice how these are all establishment Washington people, is, quote, more of an indirect or implicit approach that employs a variety of nefarious methods, quote, to affect individual and collective perceptions, beliefs, attitudes, values, and behaviors. And this is a good point because we talked about it before. What irritates me about the mind control conversation, whether it's about microchips and vaccines or whatever, people talking about mind control, the straw man conversation about mind control, the mind control that is easily, quote unquote, debunkable by the debunkers, the establishment, is like microchip in your brain, zapping your brain to control your limbs, you turn into a zombie, you're like a robot. That's not A, what we're even talking about, and B, that is less effective than what they're talking about here.
Yeah.
The most effective way to perpetrate fifth generational warfare psychological operations is right here, quote, to affect the individual and collective perceptions, beliefs, attitudes, values, and behaviors. That is the battlefield of the war that we are in. Again, not metaphorical war, literal war. Perceptions, beliefs, attitudes, values, and behaviors. That's partially why shows like this and others are so effective at inoculating people against the mind control, because we sort of we're like a bunker. We're like a bunker where you can protect your perceptions, beliefs, attitudes, values, and behaviors from outside hostile forces. And that's what the community is all about, and why you should go to a meetup. This can involve the use of various signs and symbols, content, constructs, and contexts of narrative.
Yeah,
and
boom, boom.
even direct environmental and ecological manipulation, train crashes, dams breaking, spills, says Giordano, who has dedicated an inordinate amount of time to researching and discussing the future of cognitive warfare. It's like, again, another example that I am terrified of the world that we are in, because it is just a conglomeration of topics we've been obsessed with for so long. Talking about signs and symbols. They need to just put sigils in there. You have, occult signs and symbols. That's why breaking down logos of corporations and stuff is so interesting, because logos are the signs and symbols.
Saturn everywhere.
Saturn everywhere, that are actively affecting your mind on behalf of one of the factions of the 5th generation warfare.
Hey, Basil,
And
have you...
also
I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought there.
I was going to say, not to mention the sort of occult significance of signs and symbols and stuff.
Yeah, to the signs and symbols. Have you read the handbook of 5th generation warfare, written by, what is this guy's name here? Dwayne... I can't read the name. It's a little hard to read.
No.
Daniel Abbott. Daniel H. Abbott.
Right. I think that is the guy where I read an abstract. First, I read an abstract of some paper that he had written in a journal. And that's kind of that's what started this whole obsession of mine.
I'll send you the full document. I'm going to read something out of page 54 of this book.
Great.
I've been reading this book a lot recently, so it's been on my mind. It says here, and speaking of signs and symbols, by incorporating George Herbert Mead's theory of symbolic interactionism, scholars, who went in 1999, illustrate how identity is socially constructed through interaction with other individuals. Using this constructivist framework, I detail how the process of identity formation provides the how of 5th generation warfare. If this form of warfare involves manipulating an adversary's perception of reality and identity, social constructivism provides the conceptual mechanics by which 5th generation warfare is fought. And then it goes on. So
that's how dense looking at the stuff is. Folks.
I mean, I love it. It kind of, it gets my brain going. But this is pretty much what is quoted here by Giordano, saying that, hey, we're using symbols, we're using content, we're using constructs and context of narrative, which is a great way to say, all that quote unquote fake news or spinning or whatever going on, that's all part of the, and that's the thing that I think you and I, Basil, is sort of a reluctant realization of like, oh my gosh, we've been kind of frontline soldiers in the 5th generation warfare for a while now. Maybe that's why we've been banned on YouTube. But but it kind of makes sense because we've always said that we're in a spiritual war. WWNAFAB, bro. So so we've always known that, but then to be like, I know it didn't come out right.
Well, I think to your point, I think that's what is giving Christians, especially sort of free-thinking Christians, not whatever, not the not free-thinking ones. But I think that's what gives Christians and sort of spiritual people a leg up in this. Is that we are already familiar with the concept of spiritual war. Right. And in a way, this is spiritual war.
100. It's almost quantizing the spiritual warfare with data.
It's at least sort of the other side of the same coin of spiritual war. Could maybe be described as like the counterfeit of the reality of spiritual war. The this dimension's mechanical version of spiritual warfare, or maybe it is just spiritual war. We know we're in a spiritual war, and now you have theorists and academics describing spiritual warfare in secular language. Yeah, constructs and contexts of narrative. It's all about the narrative.
Yeah.
And constructs being like the building of the narrative, but also contexts.
Yeah.
In what context is the narrative being given?
Yeah,
It's just as
great
effective.
example. Great Reset. It's a thing.
Yes.
It's a real thing, but depending on the context of the narrative, you have a completely different take on it, a completely different reporting of the Great Reset. So it's a very, great example, an obvious example everyone can see.
For instance, context of the narrative, fact check, conspiracy theory blog talked about the Great Reset.
Right. We actually dropped the story. I think it would have gone well with what we're talking about here, but
where the real context is the Great Reset, written by Klaus Schwab.
Right.
It's right there. The context is he wrote the book. It's not just some crazy tweet somebody had.
Right. A couple paragraphs out of the article, and then I want to just mention this other thing that we didn't do or we dropped from the episode, but I think it's relevant. Chinese theorists have described the importance of cognitive warfare in great detail. So have we. Discussing the many ways in which public opinions can be manipulated through psychological means. Oh, you mean like how our government did multiple times, especially back in like the 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
The great Sun Tzu, a man who knew a thing or two about winning wars, spoke about the possibilities of conquering enemies' minds without ever having to resort to physical violence. Exactly 20 years ago, the People's Liberation Army, the CCP's principal military force, outlined the 3 battles that must be won. So remember, this is China, guys. This is CCP material, okay? This is not anybody over here. This is CCP stuff.
Yeah.
The first involved, and still involves, public opinion warfare. In other words, influencing domestic and international debates and talking points. The second involves the aforementioned psychological warfare, the need to shape our subjective experience and control the various narratives that we consume. And the third aspect involves legal warfare, specifically gaining international support and recognition through legal means. For example, signing the example is not great here. Signing treaties with other countries and influencing major organizations like the UN, WHO, and BRICS. And I was going to bring the article here about it was a weird outlet called Tech ARP that talked about the World Economic Forum. Did they really say they're going to arrest climate deniers? And, it was, again, I might just mention it, not read it, but provide the actual links here on screen because it's quick and it's a great example to what we're talking about here. But yeah, this Tech ARP had the headline here: did World Economic Forum order arrest of climate change deniers? And they're quoting, guess who they're quoting? News Punch, formerly known as News Punch, the People's Voice. These guys are always quoted in some kind of fact check. Always.
Yeah, the narrative plants
right
that give the reason for these fact checks.
So, okay, so they actually link to the real World Economic Forum article that is in question. It was published on September 27th on the World Economic Forum website. I'm showing it here. It's titled, "Is Climate Inaction a Human Rights Violation?" So is climate inaction a human rights violation? And the article isn't about arresting climate deniers. It's about how legally you can start to pressure your governments, pressure your politicians, pressure your leaders, on behalf of the climate activism. And so to not do anything, these governments are actually committing a crime. So it's a backwards thing, a completely different thing. And I was reminded of the recent story out of Montana. Do you remember that story about the 13-year-old and wasn't there like a 2-year-old or something as part of the lawsuit against the state of Montana? And they won
for climate change
stuff. Yeah. So we are seeing these tactics in play. And why is the express.co.uk blaming China for this is what I want to know, because clearly that's the misdirection, and that's sort of the tactic, what am I trying to think of the word here? Not the distraction, the diversion that's being made here. It's like, cognitive warfare is real, but it's really the CCP who are the evil people trying to leverage it, not us. We would never do that on our own people. not knowing that.
And it's so funny because it's so obvious. They lean so hard on China in every single paragraph, even when they're explaining just objectively what, psychological operations are, or objectively what, like they can't say a fact that exists without connecting it to China. It's kind of like
it's almost like the new Russia. Everything's Russia's fault. Russia.
I mean,
now it's
the China thing has been there for a while.
You're right. But it's
real quick, I just a couple little things I wanted to mention. One of the paragraphs that got skipped here, Giordano warns that apps like TikTok may increasingly be used to leverage influence in narratives. TikTok has repeatedly denied that the company is in any way influenced by the Chinese government and does not allow the CCP or blah, 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 blah. But it's bringing up the TikTok concept is funny because immediately you're like, yeah, TikTok, it's Chinese, it's bad, they're affecting our children, they're leveraging influence in narratives. And the article does nothing to say Facebook that banned the Hunter Biden laptop story, or Twitter that shadow bans people who don't.
No, they all stand for free speech. So, come on.
Yeah. So you get it. Everything that is being leveled at China here is also being leveled, or should also be leveled at the U.S. And again, remember, it's not that your mind is used, not just that your mind is used against the enemy. It is that, it's not that your mind is attacked by just a geopolitical enemy. It's not just about China attacking your mind and the U.S. protecting your mind. No, it's both of them fighting for your mind,
for your mind,
for their own benefit and not yours. Your mind is the battlefield. And of course, AJ, InfoWars, these ideas have been around for a long time. And surely, I'm sure Alex Jones has been aware of this kind of stuff. But so often when people think, the war for your mind, InfoWars, and stuff like this, it's sort of, branding or a metaphor for what's going on, or like a poetic way to say that they're lying. No, it is literal warfare being fought right now, and has been, of course, for quite some time. But, in this new era where these tactics have been perfected. A couple pieces here. China, according to Giordano, will use AI, quote, to recognize definable patterns in the semantics, semiotics, images and symbols, context and applications of information in ways that affect various U.S. and Western collective groups' belief, emotions, values, decisions, actions. Now, AI is one thing, but what they're saying here is literally every piece of information that is presented to you, whether it's images, whether it's symbols, whether it's words, whether it's information, whether it's the context in which information is given, or applications of information, what you're supposed to do with that information, any piece of that interaction with what is being given to you is part of the war. We got to question every single piece of information giving from every single outlet. I mean, that's part of why we do the value for value system, because when you get a corporation involved, we've been putting it in other words, being brand friendly, advertising, all this kind of stuff. That is a huge part of it. But trying to set, like, you should even question us. Like, don't just take our word for it.
That is part of the process of learning how to fight this thing. Yeah.
And to be fair, just to say it out loud, we could be, CCP agents or CIA agents putting out, just a tactfully organized piece of
propaganda.
What's the word? Yeah, propaganda or controlled opposition. We're just very super highly trained, super sneaky Gen 5 warfare agents. Like, don't forget that could be possible. We're not. But
in a world of possibilities, maybe there are other dimensions.
You got to apply that across the board. Anyways, I've hammered that home. Quote, the more data that, backing up, semiotics and applications of information in ways that affect various U.S. and Western collective groups' beliefs, emotions, values, decisions, and actions. There you go. The beliefs, emotions, values, that is the battlefield. Quote, the more data that can be gathered, he says, quote, the greater the disruptive influence. So again, back to the, they're gathering up your data. They're using your data, the algorithms. There's people out there that say, oh, I got nothing to hide. They can take my data, blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing anything wrong. And again, we got to be like, that's not what it's about. It's not about, are you doing something wrong and are they going to put you in jail? It's the more they know about you, every click you've ever taken on the internet is recorded and used not to blackmail you and put you in jail, but to load into the system that then knows exactly how to manipulate you. And this goes for us too, folks. It's easy to talk about this in the context of the normies who don't know what's going on and they don't care and they just want to dance on TikTok and eat, pizza. It's us too. We are not immune from being targeted. Even on your very curated Twitter or Facebook feed where it's filled with people you trust and information that you agree with, all of it, you need to understand that it is only there because of the data that has been gathered about you. And it's just a matter of who is wielding that data. So we need to, really have some humility, especially for people like us, those who listen to this show, producers of this show, where it's really easy to think that we have got it all figured out. We can spot the psyop. We can do all the things. That is not immune being wielded against us as well. And, we've all seen it a little bit, people who are more or less awake to what's going on, and they just get a little bit too confident, bordering on hubris.
Yeah. A little aggressive on pushing their view onto others. Yeah. And that you're a shill if you don't.
And that you're a shill, if you don't exactly agree with their theory on the vaccine or something. Right. With arguably the biggest election in U.S. history taking place in a little over a year from now, we should expect China's AI operations to increase in intensity. Don't worry about about America.
I think the this reminds me of kind of like a World War II type of situation where you can, and maybe like a 9/11 type thing where they united the U.S. against a common enemy. It's like you have this huge psyop against the American people, and now they're like, well, I guess we need to psyop our American people to fight against China, or at least, misdirect all of it in that direction. I know you're reading through this article. There's a paragraph at the very end here.
That's my next one. I was going to jump all the way to the bottom.
Okay, good.
And so they wrap it all up. They go blah, blah, blah about China. We get it. And they end the article with this. A mind, we're told, is a terrible thing to waste. Again, this fact is not lost on the CCP. If Beijing has its way, no minds will go to waste.
Oh, boy.
More specifically, no American minds, through sophisticated psyops and supercharged AI systems. China looks likely to exploit the West in ways that were once reserved for the pages of dystopian sci-fi novels. Mm-hmm. Oh, China.
I want to go back to maybe like earlier episodes, either from this year or from last year, because I think I ranted and raved about how China's AI is going to be sort of used in a psychological warfare framework. And not that this isn't true. It is. We're talking about the misdirection here of blaming China for everything when the West has been doing the same to their own people.
Right.
But it is also true that China is, more openly sort of rolling this stuff out. And that's kind of the big nefarious thing about this. The West has the same systems, but it's more covert. It uses euphemisms. It's they won't tell you about it. China, it's like, yep, we're scanning your brain. You better straighten up. We're scanning it. So it's almost more honest than it is out here in the West.
It goes back to Hitler saying that he admires the American propaganda system, where people watch TV, they're getting entertainment, they're watching advertisements, and Adolf Hitler said, "Wow, that's a great way to control your population. I wish I had the American, mass media machine. That would be incredible."
Remember those Chinese billionaires that came over and bought a bunch of Hollywood studios? Why? The power of influencing American culture.
Yeah, right.
Which is interesting because Hollywood's whole writers thing and everything, the crumbling of Hollywood, maybe it was a Chinese CCP operation.
Of course,
gone perfectly to plan.
Took it down from the inside. Get in there, buy everything up, start messing with the content, make it so abhorrent to the public that nobody wants it anymore.
You got to crush it to build it. It's the whole Soros thing. I think Soros, I forget what commodity it was. Maybe it was like iron or copper or something like that. I forget what it was.
Wasn't it the British pound?
Well, British pound too, but there was a specific commodity that he, when he decided to go in on it, he started spreading rumors about how it's going to zero. I forget. I think it was copper. Where he basically started the rumor, hey, this is garbage. Nobody's going to ever use copper. So copper plummets in price, and that's when he scoops it all up. So maybe that's the same kind of thing where you're crashing everything down. It's the Great Reset plan. Klaus didn't learn anything new. He's playing some old tricks,
It's written right there in the Great Reset. Same thing with what our economy is going through right now. Same with the demoralization of the country. Same with the dismantling of individual identity of men and women and everybody.
It's all part of it. It really does help. The fifth generation warfare conversation puts into context why the chaos, and it allows you to step outside of it for a moment and be like, okay, this culture war was intentional. It's not something that came out of nowhere. The fight over gender and all this stuff is controlled, or at least controlled in the sense that it is presented in a way to charge people's emotions and to fight and debate and argue. It's
wielded. It's wielded like a weapon. So this article was wonderful. It's the first sort of blatant mainstream presentation of, hey, the fifth generation war is going on right now.
They don't say fifth generation warfare.
And that's the fun part. They never mention the words fifth generation warfare.
It's everything but that. It's cognitive war, psychological war, emotional war.
They never mention the actual official name of what they're talking about because they don't want to give the impression that we're at war, war with China. No, just this information stuff. That's not warfare. When what they're describing is fifth generation warfare, they're not using the word, but describing exactly what the think tanks and the academics and the Pentagon and everybody calls fifth generation warfare. It goes back to their own explanation of the construct and context of narrative. The construct and context of the narrative that they are presenting is that it's China, 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 China. China, 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 China. Look what they're doing. Aren't they sinister? That they're fighting for your mind. The context they leave out is that this is an academically recognized form of warfare and that we are currently at war and that the U.S. is also fighting for our mind. We are the bullets that the two ideologies are trying to fire at one another. So there you go. I think I think this is interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I'll give a timeline on it, but it's starting to gain speed. I even heard some big podcasters, this is like the story of our life, Gons. We listen to other podcasts and gigantic podcasters, just just the big boys, they'll just kind of say something like, oh yeah, some people think aliens are demons, and they don't know anything about it. They don't go into it. They don't. They can't. They don't have.
They don't have the.
They don't have the info. They don't. They haven't spent the years looking at it. And that happened recently. There was a big, huge podcaster who's like, yeah, something. It's like 5th generation warfare. And the co-host is like, oh, what is that? Tell me. And he's like, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's
Well, on big podcasts?
A big podcast.
Big podcast.
Yeah,
You're not going to name it, huh? You're not going to name drop?
So the phraseology, you know, is starting to leak into sort of the culture as a whole, but nobody knows about it. Nobody's looking into it. Nobody's reading the articles. There are no mainstream articles about it, but they're not reading the books or the scientific journals or anything. So I don't know the time scale, but man, oh man, pretty soon you're going to hear everybody talking about 5th generation warfare. And it'll pop up.
That will be part of the warfare too. And that's the part that I think we need to pay attention to.
Exactly.
How the conversation of 5th generation warfare spreads to the alt media. We'll see it happen in the next, year probably.
Construct and context. When it's Joe Rogan comes on and says 5th generation warfare, then the mainstream media can be like, Horseman Joe Rogan talking crazy conspiracy about futuristic brain warfare.
Well, government think tanks have written a bunch of papers on it, but crazy talk from Joe bald Rogan, muscle man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Joe Rogan, the horseman, is going to be the construct, the context in which the mainstream media can come out, mention generation warfare, but how it's only for lunatics to talk about. And if you talk about it, then you're a lunatic. So get in line, normie.
Yeah. All right.
And with that, Guns, I think it's time we thank some producers.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
All right.
Do we have any voicemails left over from last episode?
We have one. Are we going to do it now? Let's do it now. Let's just
might as well.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message.
Beep.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com. There'll be a green tab on the right side or the bottom. Click on it. It'll open a little box that allows you to record a 90-second message. If it's a private message to us, let us know right at the top of the message there so we don't play it publicly. Otherwise, we will share it with you all. And by the way, helping us with content, producing the show in that way, you are also joining the Canary Cry Battalion because we're in this crazy war that we didn't fight or didn't get into, but we're all here. So today we have something from Silly Goose Elder Dave.
There he is.
Elder Dave here. All this talk of Burning Man gave me an idea.
Uh-oh.
I'm having a festival, and I'm calling it Cooking Goose. I'd like for a change to favor you with a few of my sayings that coincide with Scripture. I'm not a prophet, but I am authorized to say it is written. First, I can't wait for some certain politicians to attend their meeting with Jesus to discuss their behavior, and I don't exclude myself. It is written, God installs kings, God removes kings. But I guess we'll just have to wait. It is also written, as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. Finally, they were educated beyond their intelligence. It is written, professing themselves wise, they became fools. Love you, God love you, and have a nice day.
I think Silly Goose Elder Dave knows how to bend time because I'm seeing the clock. It's 1:24, but that message felt like it was about 4 minutes long.
Well, that was very edifying there, Silly Goose Elder Dave. I think that might have been the most edifying one so far. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we got some producers to thank for their treasure. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, I was looking at our Apple podcast page, and that's interesting. You're right. There was a different review that did not make it onto our back end. I don't know why, but that's very strange. I'll give them a shout out now. If you missed it before, folks, I'm trying to encourage everybody. If you haven't left a review on Apple Podcasts, please go do so. Until just recently, we had not gotten a single review since July, which, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't help us. It's there's the algorithms, there's the human factor. We'd really like to get a little bit more of a consistent flow of reviews. It's very important. It really helps us out and helps other people too. And I'll just read this short one here. This one came in on the 30th, so a couple days ago, and that's great. This is 5 stars from my mom in. And the subject line was CCNT, and the review was love it, all caps. See, easy peasy, folks. You don't got to write a whole essay. Just get the info in there. It's this psychological warfare. 5th generation warfare is fought on the Apple podcast review section. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, good. If you have an Apple phone, you have a purple icon. It's called Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't listen there, you should go click on that and leave a review. Okay, yeah, we got a few financial producers who came in through the value for value model. These are humans just like you who listen to the show. They think the show is valuable. They want it to survive, and they recognize that the only way that it survives is if individuals in the community decide on a regular or semi-regular basis to produce the show with their time, their talent, or their treasure. It's not just all about money. There's lots of ways to help the show out. We live and die on the participation of people who recognize that this show is valuable to them, and B, that there is no other way that the show will survive. If not you, dear Canarians, then nobody, and then we're dead. So that's why we're so grateful to our producers. We got a few more who came in with their treasure. I'm going to thank them now.
Okay.
Starting with producer Jared P. Jared P. is back.
Jared P. Thank you very much.
I apologize. I think Jared P. had another name that he was trying to go by, but it doesn't show up.
Trouble?
I was thinking maybe it's Heap of Trouble, but I was looking for the note and I couldn't find it. So I apologize. Yes, it's Heap of Trouble.
Okay.
Heap of Trouble. Okay, I got to make a note of that to remember. Sorry about that, Jared. Okay, Heap of Trouble comes in, produces the show for 11/11.
Thank you very much. I was thinking about this. We should have done, it was a Sunday, so it didn't quite work out on show day, but the 1001, that was yesterday.
Oh,
no takers, but it's okay.
Okay.
Maybe next year.
Next up, we got Sir Darren, now to the Hungry Panda.
Hey, Sir Darren.
Yeah, it comes in with 11/11.
11/11.
Now, listen up, producers.
Producers, assemble!
Calling all producers. I've been working remotely for my employer, but they are now requiring everyone to work in office. This has put me in a difficult situation, and I need wisdom to make some career decisions. Yes, there has been this quiet campaign. I mean, there's been a back to the office thing for a couple months, but just recently, there's been a very strong campaign to eliminate working from home, and everybody's forcing people back in the office.
Must be a real estate thing.
Well,
like
it's in, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they're forcing everyone to come back to the office at the same time they're trying to convince us that COVID is dangerous again and is coming back, and there's the new variants and the new boosters.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what it is they need everybody to go back into the office
to get sick.
so they can either get sick or make sure they get their booster. I mean, if you're staying at home every day, you're a lot less likely to get your booster. But first, they want to force you back into the office and then come back again with the OSHA. You have to, hey, if you're going to be in the office, you got to get vaxxed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I don't want to be at the office. Well, you have to. Okay.
You want to keep your job.
You want to work here, you got to be in the office and you got to get vaxxed. That's my theory about the thing. And yes, producers all over the world, if you're listening to this, you too can be a producer. Just pray. Pray for Sir Darren out of the Hungry Panda for some wisdom in these career decisions. I wish we could just hire Sir Darren.
Yeah, seriously.
My gosh.
Sir Darren, you should pitch to your employer the new technology that Mark Zuckerberg introduced over the weekend and say, look, I don't want to be in the office, but I can be in the office. It'll just be a dark room on a computer.
In the office.
Put me in this laptop over here in the corner and you can just access me anytime you want. I'm in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a possible thing.
Just do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe somebody wants to write a grant for us to hire some artists. We got to hire Sir Dove. We got to hire Sir Darren. Got to hire some of the Jingle Boys. Somebody give us a $1 grant so we can keep Canarians. Keep Canarians employed. Wouldn't that be? I mean, that's the dream right there.
What, if 10,000 Bitcoin?
Yeah. Well, if we had the ability, if we had the sort of financial ability.
Yeah.
And the managerial ability to, the Canarians who have skills that we need and they are getting forced back into the office or they're getting forced, to get a booster or something. If we could just say like, no, don't worry about it. Work for us and just put Canarians to work would be really fun. We're not set up to do that. But
not quite yet.
If there's a millionaire out there who wants to maybe write a grant for us to be able to do that, that'd be cool. I mean, what else are you going to do with your money? You can only buy so many Maseratis. Next up, we have Sir Marty K, Night of the Wrong Timeline.
Thank you, Sir Marty K. Good to see you.
There he is. I think he's on a 2-episode streak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And I think Heap of Trouble's in a 2-episode streak.
Hey.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go.
All right, Sir Marty K, Night of the Wrong Timeline, comes in with $13.13. Ooh. Says Gonzo is getting all the attention with his lost or escaped maybe? Is that baby?
I think baby, yeah.
Baby.
Maybe that's how they say it over there.
Nanny problem. Yeah. So these dineros are for you, my Norwegian friend. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Thank you. That's so sweet, Sir Marty K. Says, so here are some homestead funding and a little something for your green delight. Wink, wink. And Sir Marty K is bringing up a deep cut here. That's right. How much I love green bananas. Get those yellow bananas out of here. I don't like them. Give me a nice green solid banana, nice and tart.
You know what's weird? My last batch of bananas they had that green kind of tint, but then it got old and the green never turned yellow. It just started to turn brown, like on top of the green.
That is weird.
It like skipped the entire yellow process, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here? What trans banana madness is this?"
Yeah, that's really weird. Have you been seeing the watermelon phenomenon?
What's the watermelon phenomenon?
Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm asking what's the watermelon phenomenon?
Oh, you blacked out for a second. Yeah, the watermelon phenomenon is social media posts, hundreds of them, of people who are buying watermelons at the store and either the texture, the green stripy kind of texture on the outside of the watermelon peels off like a sticker.
What?
Like it was, Yeah, like they
what
did what is it called? A dip? You see those videos where they dip car parts and puts a thing on it. It's like they're artificially putting the design on the outside of the watermelon, or people are saying that the watermelons, after 3 days, they explode with foam. Like foam comes bursting out of the watermelon. And some of them are like the rinds are all squishy. They're more like water balloons than watermelons. A lot of weird stuff going on with produce lately.
Yeah, I have a today.com article here. People are reporting that their watermelons are exploding. Here's why it happens. Tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
You got to fact check.
Yeah.
Got some propaganda.
It's today.com. So
it's kind of like 20-year-olds. They've always been having heart attacks. What are you talking about? Of course your watermelons are exploding. They've always exploded. You just haven't noticed it. But listen to the experts.
Oh my gosh, this website has some weird thing that is preventing me from fully scrolling and looking at it.
Yeah, don't read it. Don't get the details. They just want you to read the headline. Watermelons are fine. Stop it. Stop thinking about it.
All right.
Anyways, thank you very much to Marty K. He sent in some pictures of some, just beautiful, beautiful green bananas. Yeah. And he has placed them on top of what looks like some DJing gear. Yeah. So we got some DJ gear. We got some green bananas, cool beans. I love seeing the Norwegian light sockets. That's how you know that he's the real deal. I don't know why he has a dirty spoon, a roll of toilet paper, and what looks to be a propane tank next to his DJ equipment.
You got to be ready for anything, man.
I know. I was going to say, it kind of looks like my office, actually. Okay. Thank you very much, Sir Marty K. Now to the wrong timeline.
Thank you, Sir Marty K.
Next up, we have another Norwegian. I'm not sure. You'll hear why. Producer VT comes in and has increased their Patreon support to 375 Norwegian kroner.
Nice.
Yeah, which is about 33. Yeah. So the Norwegians, man, they're coming in.
Nice.
Well, the Scandinavians. Or, oh man, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth again. I don't know where Scandinavia ends and begins, but Europeans. Thank you, Europeans. Next up, we got producer Malik W.
Malik W, thank you.
Comes in for a nice round number, 23 episodes in a row.
23. Is that right? There you go. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Okay. I think that concludes our list of financial producers who came in the amount of 777 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. But we got some people who came in under that amount, and here they are. They're great. First of all, producer Kreisman. Yeah, came in on the Patreon. Thank you. Of course, we got Dr. Who Done Dat. Who's on a 12-episode streak. We got Veronica D on a 312-episode streak.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 337 in a row. We got, you know him, you love him, Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
Right, the Streakmeister, 351 episodes in a row. We got Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's, 309 episodes in a row. Last but not least, Sir Morv, Night of the Burning Chariots, 285 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Morv.
And before we move on, Gons, I do need to do a quick update on the supply drop.
Supply drop.
Yeah, folks, go check it out. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. This is a program for producers where when you commit to produce the show for $33 a month, funny number, I know, it's $2.77 per episode. If the show is worth that to you, why don't you consider joining the Supply Drop? It's where you produce the show, and as a free gift for your ongoing support, you start receiving a package in the mail every 3 months filled with cool Canary Cry gear. This is awesome stuff. A lot of it started as jokes on the show. A lot of it is stuff from producers who create stuff and want to help out the show. We had Canary Cry Coffee in the last one, which a wonderful producer white labeled our very special coffee roast. We had Marty B created a whole album of music and we put it in there. And of course, Age of Deceit DVD was in the last one. So it's a very cool program. It's just a fun way to get like a fun, cool package once a quarter from your favorite podcast. That's really a community project. It's made by producers, designed by producers, packaged by producers, sent by producers. It's really incredible. So go to canarycrysupply.com and sign up if you're able to. That would mean a lot to us. And, you know, we've never done something like this before we did. And we've learned that, you know, there's just a normal churn. It's called churn when your people who are supporting you monthly just kind of drop off for whatever reason, whether they stop listening or you know, financial reasons or whatever. So we do, as much as I don't want to harp on it, we do have to mention it for everybody. It's a good opportunity for people who want to support the show. The supply droppers are basically what let us survive 2022 and of course on to 2023. And we had a new signer-upper. I want to thank them very much.
Good.
I think this is a re-signer-upper, which we very much appreciate when people come back. And this is supply drop producer Alana L.
Alana L. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alana. Yeah. Appreciate it. And then I also need to mention the Canary Cry T-shirt club real quick.
Okay, hold on. Thank you, supply droppers.
Waiting for supply drop. Canary Cry T-shirt council.
Yeah, the Canary Cry T-shirt Council is also a very fun thing we do that we just started this year. It's for people who want T-shirts. Rarely do T-shirts get put in the supply drop for various reasons. But the Canary Cry T-shirt Council is awesome, and it's at a different price point. You know, in case the $33.33 doesn't work for you, you can support the show for $19.84 a month by going to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com. And what happens there is producers, just like you in the T-shirt council, you vote on the color and the design on the T-shirts that will be made. And then you receive the winning votes, gets manufactured, and we send it to everybody in the T-shirt council. So it's another fun way if you like T-shirts. Again, these are made by producers, designed by artists, and manufactured in America by Sir Ike. And it's very cool. Go to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com. And I think we just had a re-signer-upper there too. And I want to thank them. It's most important person in the world, Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
Yeah, there we go. So
best friend going up was named Nathan.
Maybe this is him. Just a friendly reminder, everybody, that, you know, keeping the show going is an ongoing project and does take as many producers as possible. But we try to make it fun and we try to, you know, make it worth your while, all while sticking to the value for value model and not turning into, you know, a retail shop. Yeah. We're not retailers. That's above our pay grade. So
no good.
Instead, it's value for value. You support the show. And in certain cases, we send you cool free gifts just because we like you and we think you're pretty or very handsome. Okay.
Or pretty handsome.
Pretty handsome. Mm-hmm. All right. That's it for me, Gons. What do you got?
Okay. We are going to thank some producers for their talent. Again, you know, helping us build the culture behind the community here. But really, you're joining the Canary Cry Battalion.
Yeah, I was going to say, the culture behind the community is like it's I don't know, it's the bunker, man. I was going to say it's like an army, but it's not like an army. We're not trying to militarize around here, but it's like a force field of constructing context, narrative, repelling force field.
Perfect. And we're going to do that with art.
One art, please.
Look at Basil's head.
Yeah, sorry, I disappeared.
That's okay. This is from Sir Dove. And he has a note to accompany it. I don't know. Oh, there we go. It says, "Peace. For today's artwork, I did a sticker design for a certain prime minister who has never even once honored a Nazi." Hope you guys
This
like
was
it.
so good.
Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you.
I, for real, laughed out loud when I saw this morning. This is a sticker, nice circular design here. Again, these stickers get put in the supply drop. Man, some good stickers went out this last quarter, and there's even better ones getting ready for next quarter. This is a round circular logo. In the middle, you've got a combination in the background of the Cuban flag and the Canadian flag.
Beautiful.
It's like the Cuban flag with the Canadian leaf upside down on it, which is a strong statement. And of course, in front of the flag, we've got Canada's favorite son of Fidel Castro, Justin Trudeau. He's wearing his fatigues just like Papa. Yeah. He's got his big cigar hanging out his mouth. His eyelids are kind of at half-mast, reflection of what's going on in his head, I guess. He's covered in, of course, military awards. He's got the derpy Baphomet pin. He's got the upside-down General's star. And the kicker to the whole thing is the text around the sticker says, "Delulu is the Salulu." This might be my favorite one so far. This is very good, Sir Dove.
How do we know? I guess the Canadian, the maple leaf is what gives it away. But I was going to say, maybe it's just a portrait of Castro. I mean, there's not much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. They look so similar. How could we possibly know? Thank you so much, Sir Dove. We're so lucky. I feel genuinely blessed to have
Was it something outside?
Sir Dove's attention and art being sent into the show. Really means a lot. You're a champion, Sir Dove. Thank you very much. And Gons is dealing with babies, so I'll continue to go.
There was a loud noise, so we checked out what.
Got to do it.
Just making sure it wasn't, the feds. All right,
garbage man.
We got. Thank you for that, Sir Dove. We have a couple microfiction to catch up on here.
Microfiction.
And this first one is from Runk Smash.
As he runs from the grate, a bloated mass of former trash slinks clunkily out behind him, its mechanical snarls of hatred for carbon-based existence flowing like a torrent. But in its hatred, it misses the improvised explosive that spells its end.
Oh, maybe that was the loud bang noise I just heard outside.
Yeah, that could have been it.
Improvised explosive.
Man, this is a really good series that Runk Smash is on. I'm really liking this narrative he's constructing. We've talked about it before, and this goes for, I would say, both of our microfictionists, but like, we have too many balls in the air, plates in the air. The balls or plates? I don't know. Yeah. We have too many things.
Too many
going
balls on spinning on plates.
Right. We just can't do it. But this would one of these days, man. We got to get the microfictionists hooked up with the artists and get a legit like Legends of the Canarium comic book series going.
Yeah.
It just has to be done. We have too much talent here, and these stories, they must be accompanied by some visuals. I'm just saying it out loud again, and if maybe somebody out there who wants to be like a project manager or something, maybe just the artists themselves can get together, we'd help facilitate, but I really want that to happen, and I'm not sure what has to be done to make it happen. Just putting it out there. Thank you very much, Runk Smash.
Thank you, Runk Smash. We got another one from Stephen S.
Gonzo, can you do it again? I can't hear the music at all.
You can't hear the music at all?
Yeah, it was just like silent for a long time.
Weird.
AI robots protest the football games carrying signs of "We will overcome." Denied entry, failing a basic security screening measures of metal detection, they are demanding to be treated as persons of special abilities.
Oh, yeah, this is pertaining to the creator AI robot promotion thing
Marketing
that the Charger
stunts.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
That's
stuff.
funny. I didn't think about that. Yeah, robots. Oh, the robot rights movement is going to be up in a tizzy when, robots can't get on airplanes or go to football games because of the metal detectors.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Whoa, pumpkins falling. Oh, boy.
Pumpkins, they're rolling. It must mean it's October.
It's October. We got the mega
do.
All right.
Thank you to all of our artists, all of our producers, in all of your shapes and forms. We really recommend people try getting involved in one way or another. And this is just human to human here. Getting involved, putting your talents or your skills or your excess monetary resources towards joining the team and becoming a part of keeping the show going is really rewarding. It's a really rewarding experience. And we know this because producers tell us this. I mean, producers don't go on producing streaks for 351 episodes, or like Sir Dove make 300 pieces of art 3 times a week, for years, or create the microfictions, or get involved, or all the things. People would not be doing this for hundreds of episodes in a row if it wasn't bringing something to their life. It's finally feel the sort of connection with us, with the show. I mean, because I can say, like, get involved, we can't do it without you, you do the thing, make us art or whatever. And you can kind of like be like, okay, yeah, I get it. No, I don't want to be part of the team. But like when you actually do it and you see it and you hear your work being broadcast around the world and know that you had a part in making this community and the show what it is, it's a very cool feeling. So I recommend everybody try it at least once. If you're creative, if you're an artist, well, first, if you want to produce the show financially, you can go to canarycry.support. If you'd like to produce the show with your art or any of your other talents, go to canarycry.art to upload there. Or if you want to send us articles to take a look at, consider for the show, go to canarycry.report. All those places you can get involved.
So a new discovery in Antarctica.
Penguins.
Ah, yes. We finally get to our Antarctica story, and then we decided not to do the one we've been holding out on for 2 episodes and went with something a little more in our wheelhouse. Not that the other one wasn't, but this one is just better. So we're going to go with this. It's from nextbigideaclub.com. Are you part of the Next Big Idea Club?
It's a cool name for a club. It sounds like a sort of a nerdy high school thing for like WEF,
like
young global leaders
Yeah,
types.
right.
Like, oh, that kid's going to be president of his senior class one day. Quick, start grooming him for leadership in the Big Ideas Club.
Yeah. The headline here: The Quickening, Creation and Community at the Ends of the Earth. Oh, man, you got creation, you got a community, you got the flat earth, ends of the earth, you got a quickening, you got everything in here. But
you got constructs, you've got context of narrative, you've got psyops.
Elizabeth Rush is an author whose latest title, Rising, Dispatches from the New American Shore, was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize, which, by the way, just to mention, there was I think it was this morning, the mRNA inventor got the what's the prestigious award? I'm blanking on the name of
Nobel
the,
Peace
Nobel.
Prize?
Yes,
Nobel Prize.
Yes, they got a Nobel Prize for the mRNA vaccines.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
Even the name of the book is an interesting psyop that, again, perfectly lines up with what we intuited about Antarctica coverage for years now. Where is the name? Rising. Dispatches from the New American Shore. Again, referring to Antarctica not just as, a weird place down there that's kind of mysterious and scientists go to, but that it is an extension of the moral virtues of America that are first being ideologically terraformed and then will become the home of all the good, rich, white liberals.
Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Harper's, Orion, Granta, Guernica, and elsewhere. A recipient of fellowships from the National Science Foundation, National Geographic, and Andrew Mellon Foundation, the Howard Foundation, and the Metcalf Institute. She also teaches at Brown University. She's plugged in. She's
what a roster.
She's an asset. Yeah.
Yeah, she's in. You're right. That's an asset. She's an operative.
Yeah, yeah. Below, Elizabeth shares 5 key insights from her new book, The Quickening: Creation and Community at the Ends of the Earth. 1. Antarctica is not the place to contemplate parenthood.
Oh.
Okay. As soon as I learned,
the new world, in the utopia, the promised land for rich white liberals, we're not going to be having babies. Weird.
As soon as I learned I would deploy to Antarctica on a research icebreaker, I went to the library to see what had been written by people who had traveled to Antarctica before me. I was floored to learn that the first person to see the last continent did so in 1820, just over 200 years ago. That means that every single first person account of Antarctica has been penned in the last 2 centuries. Oh, I dove into these texts. It doesn't sound that crazy, but
yeah, what is it? I don't know why she thinks that is so powerful.
I don't know. I dove into these texts and very quickly became bored because they all, like the overwhelming majority, mention the same half a dozen events. Amundsen's conquest of the pole, Scott's death 11 miles from the One Top Depot, Shackleton's miraculous return, Douglas Mawson's shooting and eating his sled dogs. These few stories are woven into nearly every narrative account of the last continent's history.
Boring.
These are the origin stories that circulate through the only place on Earth that has no original inhabitants. Assumption. These tales get told and retold by each successive generation. Their repetition builds up a set of expectations, not just about what Antarctic narratives include and what they don't, but also about who belongs on the ice in the first place. The more I read, the more I realized I wanted little to do with this tradition. At the time, he's breaking away from old doctrine, Basil.
Patriarchy.
At the time, I was also contemplating having a child, so motherhood and life-making was very much on my mind. What if I write a book about Antarctica and motherhood? Why not?
What if?
I thought. The thought really was there from the beginning, and then I had to see where it took me. It turns out that it meant staring into a gaping maw of our changing planet and asking, quote, how do I live with this desire? How do I hold these two seemingly opposite impulses in my mind, body, and heart at the same time? One grounded in creation, the other in wanting to witness our disassembling planet up close. I'm not sure there's an answer to that question. Each person has to encounter it and live it themselves. Wah, wah, wah. Number 2, if Antarctica is going to lose a lot of ice this century, it will likely come from the Thwaites. Am I saying that right? The Thwaites?
Sure.
Yeah. The glacier rests below sea level, exposing its underside to warm water incursions that are causing rapid melting from beneath. Thwaites alone contains over 2 feet of potential sea level rise, where were it to wholly disintegrate, it could destabilize the entire West Antarctic ice sheet, causing global sea levels to jump 10 feet or more. In terms of the fate of our coastal communities, this particular glacier is the biggest wild card, the largest known unknown. The pile of coins that could tip the scales one way or another. Will Miami even exist in 100 years? Thwaites will decide. At least that's what many scientists think. Rolling Stones dubbed Thwaites the Doomsday Glacier a couple of years back, but no one has ever before been to Thwaites calving edge, the place where the glacier discharges ice into the sea. So many of our ideas about
calving is how it's pronounced.
Calving. Okay. So many of our ideas about how it will behave are a mixture of science and speculation, out-of-date modeling married to increasing fear. The more we learn about Thwaites, the more profoundly we understand that many of our predictions about the speed of sea level rise are extremely tenuous, based primarily on physical processes that human beings have already observed. It is possible that at the cold nadir of the planet, in a place that no one has ever visited, let alone cataloged in the methodical way that science demands, nature is stepping outside of the script we imagined for it, defying even our most detailed projections of what's to come. So kind of interesting that it's, exposing the idea that everything is based on models like computer simulations, but also not letting go of the idea that it's a threat.
Right.
Motherhood in Antarctica. It seems like people of my generation and younger are being faced with an impossible question. Is it okay to have a child?
Is it okay?
I mean, talk about first world problems. Vermont is underwater. Is it still okay to have a child? It is 120 degrees in Phoenix. Is it still okay to have a child? Canada is on fire, and I'm currently breathing the unhealthy particulate matter here in Rhode Island today. Is it still okay to have a child? What will my child's impact on our already unstable planet be? What will the planet's impact be on the child? So much of what lies ahead depends on how humans act in the next 2 decades, and yet many of us still have to make this choice today as our reproductive clocks tick. We are sitting in that uncomfortable space asking how we move forward, dwelling inside this impossible area.
Impossible area. It's so interesting how the way she's presenting that is as if it is obvious. Like it's almost like what's the word? Like a false dichotomy. Like having a child means what it means is that you will kill the earth. If you have a child, you will help kill the earth. Well, first of all, if we're not having children,
then we die.
Why save the earth if there's not going to be anybody to enjoy it? That makes no sense. But also,
if you're a billionaire and you can buy immortality, then hey, we don't need children. We can just virtually make them.
We're doing it for the robots. We got to save the earth for the robots. But the other side of it is, like, if you're a mother who's so concerned about the climate change that you're considering not becoming a mother because whatever, because you're going to kill the earth.
This is logic that I think a lot of people on the left and progressive types think. I've heard the sentiment quite a bit.
Oh yeah, well, I've heard the argument. I see it. There's an example, and I'm not sure if it's a great example, and it's an uncomfortable example, but I'm going to say it anyways. The recent sort of movement when it comes to sexual abuse and the history of how women dress, where women are, how they act, all the sort of gross bits of like she was asking for it or whatever. And the answer to that recently was like, you know what? Let's focus less on teaching our women to act or not act a certain way, and instead teach men not to be rapists. That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
With this, it's kind of like, okay, it's your child. Why don't you just have a child and teach it to not kill the earth? If you're that, like,
that makes too much sense, Basil. You can't write books on that. That's too.
You want to be a mother, but you're worried about killing the earth. Why don't you be a mother and teach your child not to kill the earth?
Yeah, that's a good idea. What was I looking for? was looking for the eugenics jingle because get some little eugenics talk here. This is why I think this article is interesting. While dwelling inside this space, I find myself diving deep into population control and environmental stewardship. Bumper stickers ask, want to save the planet? Don't have kids. It's an argument whose long roots can be traced from the present-day interest in population control back through the movement for voluntary human extinction, from biologist Paul Ehrlich's 1968 book, The Population Bomb, and to the work of the 19th century economist Thomas Malthus, who argued that famine and war occur when population growth outpaces agricultural production. The fundamental premise is clear enough. The Earth would be better off without us, or, at the very least, with fewer of us. Too often, though, this logic has been used only in select cases to restrict poor people of color's right to reintegrate or regenerate, while maintaining the rights of white women like myself, which is one big reason it doesn't sit well with me. Woo! We talk about sort of your double speak and kind of propaganda and a certain way of thinking about certain issues. I mean, we're talking eugenics. This is like milquetoast eugenics for the common woman.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Well, it's eugenics for the socially conscious, rich, white liberal. I mean, again, and you just think about what she's saying in the context, as we pointed out, as Antarctica being the promised land for a certain group of people. What she's saying is, if we want to make it to the promised land, we have to make sacrifices. In this case, sacrifice having children. Another way to say it, sacrifice children.
Yeah, this is Bale, actually, that's leading the whole cause here.
Yeah, to our utopian vision of the future of humanity inhabiting Antarctica and saving the Earth. It's and like you said, it's like these egregiously ghoulish concepts being sort of presented in this very sneaky way, and disguised as virtue.
Virtue, and virtue was the word I was trying to think of. Yeah, it was. It's they're trying to present it as like this compelling, deep thinking, cutting edge,
like a thoughtful, integrous, virtuous, rich white woman.
The second reason is something I discovered while researching. Fossil fuel companies purposely popularized the use of the carbon footprint calculator. These seemingly benign devices calculate the negative impact of an individual's consumer choices. What these companies are doing at a psychological level is shifting blame for the climate crisis away from corporate polluters onto individuals who, through their individual consumer actions alone, cannot change the system they live within.
Yeah, well, hard to argue with her there.
Well, it's hard to argue, but also I've noticed a lot with kind of the progressive woke types. They're picking up on the narratives of the truthers. And they kind of embed it into their narrative. And this is a great example of that, because there's a psychological shift blaming going on. Away from the corporations. The corporations would like to have it away, that narrative. And while part of that may be true, it's not just the corporations. The corporations are the front for more nefarious organizations, individuals, institutions, whatever they may be. And so it's still kind of an abstraction of the whole thing, which I find interesting.
Yeah, well, again, back to sort of like the ideological component of fifth generation warfare. Yeah. It's like, you can blame the corporations, but even that isn't quite targeted enough. Right. It's not just fossil fuel corporations. Is when you kind of go back to the spiritual warfare aspect of it. It's ideologies. It's a spirit that is infecting the system as it stands, that manifests the symptom of the disease is fossil fuel companies, blaming consumers for killing the earth. But the disease itself is something much deeper, much more nefarious.
Sorry, looking for something I dropped over here and I cannot find it.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
Yeah. All right.
You there?
Yeah, I apparently dropped something here, and I cannot find it, and the wife is looking for it. And okay, yeah,
Okay.
more distractions here, but we can wrap it up here.
No worries. Yeah, we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's one more pretty egregious line, and we'll kind of end it on that here. But it says, kids are often a line item in these calculation exercises, which is, to my mind, a huge categorical error. Choosing to become a parent or not is not the same as choosing Beyond Beef or a Chevy Bolt. What isn't ever included in the carbon footprint calculators could be participation in an organized public protest to shut down a coal power plant for a single day. That one day can keep 60 tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere, yada, yada, yada. Plus, population control takes too long. The National Science Academy, or National Academy of Science, suggests that even if we quickly shift to a worldwide one-child policy, we will still have 5 to 10 billion people living on the planet in 2100. The rapid transition away from fossil fuels, not fewer pregnancies, is what is needed. And then collaboration is what we need to begin to address climate change. So, yeah, it's almost like they're changing tactics a little bit to tailor to the more, not informed necessarily, but maybe I don't know, less radical group or phase of the,
I wouldn't even say they're changing tactics. They're
integrating.
She in particular is casting a wide net.
Yeah.
That kind of like wherever you land on the certain side of the spectrum of the climate change, action committee or whatever.
Right.
There's something for you there.
Yeah.
Now you got to go buy her book if you want to know more. Go read this incredibly honored Elizabeth Rush talking about Antarctica.
Okay. Yep.
I think all good.
Done it. Yep.
All right, let's get out of here, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday. It's going to be great. Hope you like it. Make sure to send in your art and your articles and your producerships of all shapes and sizes by then. We'll have some updates on a couple things next episode. Thank you to Sir Alex Protocol, V2 Night of the Berean Protocol, for executive producing this show. And thank you to everybody who left a review in the past couple days. We appreciate that. And again, would really appreciate it if everybody else did that. That'd be very nice. The easiest way to do that is if you have an iPhone, there's a purple icon. It says podcasts, it's Apple Podcasts. Just jump in there. Search for Canary Cry News Talk. Leave us a rating and a review. It'd be super duper helpful. But other than that, we have some other producers who make this show happen with their time. They're very faithful and talented. We'll start with the Clippies.
Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
Yeah, the Clippies, they clip the show. They make small clips, big clips, populating the Canary Cry Clips channel. Go follow the Canary Cry Clips channel on YouTube and Odyssey, and putting the general call out. If there's anybody who has, even the slightest skill in editing videos, this would be a great way for some young people to get involved. If you're a young, hip Gen Z or millennial who knows how to just clip a video, this would be extremely helpful if we had your time and attention on this. If that's something that calls to you, we would really appreciate it. Send us an email at canarycryradio@gmail.com. And the clip thing wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
That's right. They timestamp the show. They're doing it often, frequently, and with the utmost quality, making sure that we have all the timestamps. It goes into so much of our back-end processes. And for episode 671, timestamp producer Morgan E. came in and did that for us. Thank you very much, Morgan E. Morgan E. might be on a timestamp streak now. That's very fun. Lost Gons again. Thank you to Jam for the links. Thank you to everybody who sent in articles to canarycry.report. Thank you to Clank for clanking away. And other than that, share the show. Give it a try. Share the show, folks, with reviews like The Only Podcast and Excellent. How could you not for people to find new podcasts. So, of course, post it on your social media, talk to us on Twitter, print out a flyer. Oh, you know what we have not talked about in a while is Canary Cry Street Team. If you go to, let's see, is Canary Cry Street Team a URL? Canary Cry Street Team.
Still there.
Okay. This is fun. Sorry, we haven't mentioned this before in a while. Go to canarycrystreetteam.com and you will see an enormous collection of flyers that Sir Dove made over the years. And they are flyers that are very silly. A lot of them are inside jokes to the show. Some of them are kind of current event related or celebrity related. They're just something that catches the attention, and they guide people to find the podcast. We got ones with Hunter Biden. Oh, we got the robot gays. We've got vape school. We've got the horseman. We've got the white girl shaman. We've got the Greta. We've got Fauci's what is this?
Animal
Fauci.
shelter.
Yeah, Fauci and Friends Animal Shelter. There's just a ton of these things. Go check them out, and you can print them and hang them up around your area. Put them on bulletin boards and signposts and stuff like that. It's a fun activity, and one that I will again recommend that the meetup people do. Meetup people, if you're putting on meetups, print out some of these flyers, bring them, and then it's a fun activity. You guys can walk around and hang up these flyers. It helps spread the word. But you can, like I said, spread the word in so many different ways. You can just tell people with your words. You can sign it to them. But a lot of people like to do something, a little bit more creative. They're not content with just doing things the regular way. They need to express their unique capabilities, their skills, their talents given to them by the Lord on high. And one way you could do that, if I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, is you could go ahead and sometimes bad thoughts come into my head, and then I just need to keep moving. If you are getting called into the office, here it is. Here's the solution. This is the solution to a lot of problems. If you're working for a company and they've been letting you work at home, and they're turning around and they're saying, no, you got to come into the office. It's required you come into the office. Then you get into the office and say, oh, if you're going to be in the office, you need a booster. Get your booster. You say, well, this was a sneaky way to do this again. Go ahead and start printing out some of these street team flyers. In fact, possibly even print out one of them, take it to the office, put it in the copy machine, and remind your employer just how expensive it is to keep up with the ink and paper needs of the office copy machine. And then go ahead and start posting those suckers everywhere. Of course, you need Joe the Horseman flyer guiding people to the podcast, hanging up in every stall in the bathroom. Of course, you're going to need, the Basil Buff Barista flyer. You're going to need to hang that by the coffee machine. You're going to need to go ahead and go straight up to the bulletin board. And next to the climate activism poster, set up the tired of all the politicians with their blah, blah, blah. Got to get the Greta for World President the flyer up there. There's flyers for every occasion, folks. Is your company instituting AI and robotics? Well, we have got the FLIPPY flyer. They're taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. They must be stopped. Join the robot resistance. That's right. Absolutely wallpaper your office with these flyers. And certainly that will go a long way to helping your coworkers, your bosses, the maintenance guy, the security guys watching you do this on camera. They will all have a chance to come in contact with Canary Cry News Talk, and it will change your company culture. I'll tell you what. It will change your company culture. But you can do it that way. You can do it any way you want. So just share the show. We like to call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted. I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop!
You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Gonz, you got any last words?
It's our first 3-hour episode in a while, so that's nice. That was a really long one today.
Long today. Okay, you're welcome, everybody. We're not planning on that.
Also, look out for your smartphones or smart devices on Wednesday. The largest national emergency alert system test will go off at some point. So maybe while we're on air on Wednesday, we'll find out.
I was going to say, if it goes off on air, that'd be fun. Then everybody could watch us, activate our nanobots and turn into zombies on air.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. All right. I want to give a shout out to YouTube viewer A Mobile, who says, thank you for all that you do. I wouldn't know half of what I know if I didn't know half of your shows.
Hey,
thank you, and thank God. Well, what a nice thing to say. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time, but until then, think outside the cage.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
It will kill.
They love killing.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. I'm happy to circle back. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back on that one. Circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back.
I want to shake things up. I want to shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Pay them more.
Canary Cry News Talk, man, what's going on? Gotta turn it on, shows coming on live.
VPN on when I'm going online. Anonymity, man, cryptocurrency. We got everything you need, get it 3 times a week. Jesus Christ the King, let the Holy Spirit speak. Battle in the cage, gotta set the captive free. Value for value, to me it's not free. Wish I had a longer streak, but this creativity, go fulfill the 3 T's. That's time, treasure, talent. Give it right back, put it right back in balance. Not right or left, we not with the distractions. Catastrophes are the classic techniques. All attacks of the enemy, getting defeated underneath the feet of Jesus. Just believe us, media is trying to deceive you. Gotta read between the lines till you see through the disguise. It's a slit reptilian eye sitting on top of the pyramid. Got a myriad of topics, might be on a watch list. RIP face like the sun, but you cannot stop this. Like the Lord's gonna come stop this beast system and this infinite wisdom. Yeah, when the time is right, yeah, we're gonna take flight like a thief in the night. So I gotta get it right. I gotta repent and sit patient. Waiting for supply drop. Google eyes don't blink, man. I need some eye drops. Google mind deep thinking, flippy AI thoughts. Yeah, Basil Gons. You know what's going on. Basil Gons. Never Crown News Talk, man, what's going on. Basil Gons. Man, you know what's going on. Basil Gons. Canary Crown News Talk, man, what's going on.
By corporate media advertisers. Then try the all-new CCNT Energy Shots. Collect all 33 flavors. CCNT 500. Taste that is out of this world. Burning basil, 1 sip and you're dreaming. FLIPPY. Take back your favorite flavor. Propaganda Rooster. A toast to your comrades in farms. Rattling Cages. Let's shake things up. Canary Cry After Dark. What time is it? It's wake up time. Support value for value. And think outside the cage with Canary Cry News Talk. But what do I know? I'm just an AI-generated cat girl avatar. And this is a fake ad. Baka.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, that's support.